Welcome to the weekly Woodcast with Dennis and Michael Woodworth on Boston Pizza Friday night, second episode with our celebrities that are going to be here every week. And I'm using that word strongly, celebrities, because they are being,
Boston Pizza.
they're being, and from two different types of podcasts, they've been reviewed very well on both sides of the earth, the flat side and the round one. Anyway, Megan Walker, TikTok, superfragilistic expialidocious, which is
What was that?
it's not even the right word, but I'll just superfragilistic.
Supercalifragilistic.
Yeah, exactly.
Expialidocious.
Thank you, Glenn.
Even
Thank
though
you.
the sound of it is something quite atrocious. I'm going to upload. If
Okay.
we sing it loud.
Our
enough.
producer's leaving the studio, so if something happens,
He's
it's
done
his fault.
already.
No, I'm just going to upload this last week's.
Okay, great, fantastic. The producer will be back then. Michael will be back. If something happened, we'd have to all just take him to the Aquaman movie or whatever.
Permission to come aboard.
Yeah, and of course, my good old buddy from, or brother from another mother, or whatever you want to call, Glenn Carey, who has been, well, we had a great week last week. We had a lot of fun. Our counterpart, Barry Gillis, is not here, so I have a glass of Scotch whiskey in his place, just to pay tribute to Barry. He'll be here next week. We're not going to be able to be here every week. I mean, some people have to do other things in life, and that's certainly understandable. And there'll be times I won't be here, and one of these guys will be hosting, so not a big deal. So anyway, what happens on Boston Pizza? First of all, thank you to Boston Pizza for sponsoring this, and what we want to have is interaction with the listening audience to be able to make comments, subscribe to our channel, like our Facebook page, and then we're going to take some of the best comments on a weekly basis and draw for the Boston Pizza $30 gift certificate located right here in Bridgewater. So you have to be a Bridgewater resident. And I know that more people around the globe watch and listen to this, but I don't think we're going to be able to give you a gift certificate to Boston Pizza in your location. But you should go to Boston Pizza because they sponsor this Fishbowl Friday concept, which Megan Walker was the founding individual for this. So
Thank you very much.
10 topics in the fishbowl this week. We're going to draw them out one at a time and converse about them. They're some of them are very quick, just boom, boom, answer, and other ones take a lot of discussion and deliberation. So let's get started.
All right.
Megan Walker. Topic number one.
Nervous every time. Education changes. What happened to industrial arts, home ec, doing taxes, banking, etc.?
Yeah, so what that basically means is like what happened to some of our subjects that we had in certain times of our lives, and why haven't we been taught certain things in school that perhaps could be something that would be useful in society, especially after your podcast, Megan, talking about being in university and all that kind of stuff. I think a lot of kids could gain a lot of insight and advantages in life by knowing these things in advance rather than sooner than later, right? Glenn, what do you think?
What's the time limit on these comments we
Yeah.
have?
Putting a
The
timer
producers,
on this?
their producer's not here, so you can take.
There's
Tell the
been,
producers back.
yeah, I mean, even when we were in high school and junior high, like we
Glenn,
had
come
home
back
ec.
off the mic just a little bit because you're heavy, man. Like
I'm
it's-
heavy?
I mean,
Am
your
I
voice
heavy?
is.
Okay. Yeah, thanks.
A fist.
I'm going
a fist.
home.
Let's see. A fist.
I'm going home.
Yeah, there you go. No, man. It's good.
So, like when we were in school, I can remember we had the option to take home ec classes,
Right.
And we all did because we got to bake the cakes and stuff, and it was treats, and it was just fun and kind of like a little party class. But we had home ec.
Did you sew? Yeah, I was going to say, I remember we had to sew
I didn't
shorts.
do sewing, but I did home ec. I did metal shop and wood shop, and they teach you practical skills.
I was going to say tangible skills.
Yeah, and-
Exactly.
But they don't, like they've moved away from that. They've also, and this is concerning to me too, they also moved away, like music is getting defunded everywhere, and that's a huge concern
That
for me
is.
too. But I think that education now is designed to get people through to university to degrees, like just like everything else in pretty much in society.
Follow the money.
Follow the money.
Mm.
And there's really, like, once you learn how to bake that cake, I mean, can you go on? Like, I know people have gone on to culinary school and learned those skills. But I mean, goodness, we don't know, like, people don't know how to balance checkbooks. Not that you have to balance checkbooks anymore, but like when I was a kid, I had to learn how to do my own personal finances. I had to learn to do my own laundry. I had to learn, well, my mom helped me with that stuff when, early on, but how to cook. These are important skills, and kids can graduate and have, they can understand how to conjugate verbs in French, and do long division, and understand maybe to a lesser degree some of the classical literary works of our time. I think that's going away a little bit too, and you can talk more to that. But the practical skills just aren't there, and kids go to college, and the first time they're away from their parents, they really don't know what to do. Like they if it wasn't for cafeteria and for meal plans, they'd be in trouble. They wouldn't know how to feed themselves, and that's a problem. Like we need to educate. People need to know how to do math. They need to know how to, not advanced math necessarily, unless they want to go for an advanced math degree. Right. I like what the Germans do in school, where they kind of get to a point in their schooling where they decide, do I want to switch over to an apprentice track and learn a trade? And if they do that, they go into an apprentice track, and they actually go an apprentice under a craftsman. And everything from, even serving and waiting tables, they go and they apprentice as a waiter or a server.
Love it.
And then you can pick an academic track. And I wish that we kind of had something like that here.
What do you say, Doc?
An option.
This is a loaded topic for me, because I have a lot of different opinions on it as a teacher, but also as a
human being.
I guess.
What do teachers talk about?
I'm torn. When Glenn was talking, I got defensive over one thing, but then I also agreed with him at the same time, because as an educator, and I have to watch my words.
Walk on a thin line, exactly. I understand that.
As an educator, I get frustrated when parents decide that they shouldn't have to teach their children anything, because they're just going to ship them off to school, and we should teach them everything.
That's a valid point. I love that.
They get angry that, we shouldn't have to teach them to be respectful. It should happen in school. We shouldn't have to teach them to cook because there should be a home ec program. We shouldn't have to teach them how to deal with money because that's part of math, and they should do that in school. So I don't like the cop-out that parents feel I'm busy or I can't, or it should all be on the school system, because kids' mental health right now is insanely fragile and not good.
Michael, pull up world's top countries for education.
However,
ranked.
While he's doing that, I do agree, and I say it all the time, that life skills classes, in our school right now, they do have a food and nutrition, but you get it for a third of the year, one semester. So if there's 3 grade 8s, each grade 8 would get it for a third of the year. Tech ed right now is a little different. That's usually, I know last year they would get some industrial arts, but it's even very different than how it used to be. And I do agree that I think we need some of those life skills classes brought back. I don't know when. And I agree. I think when they hit grade 10, there is the option to take the life skills math, and then there's, calculus, and there's all these other streams. But I do agree that I think there's a lot of kids who go to Parkview and jump into the O2 program or the STEP program because they know this is where I'm going. And I feel like, and I don't know if it's changed, but even when I was in school, we didn't have O2 and STEP, but kids are made to feel like if they take those type of classes, I don't know how to say it. I don't want to say they're not as smart, but they're made to feel like those aren't, if I'm going to university, I shouldn't be taking a home ec course, or I shouldn't be taking.
I agree.
And I
totally
think that I think it should be mandatory. I think a life skills class in high school, whatever grade, I think by grade 12, maybe you have the choice. You can take it 10, 11, or 12, but by the end of grade 12, you have to have this life skills class, which is how to change a tire.
Oh, Michael, that can't be the right one.
How to read.
Look at the website.
Yeah.
It's just grocery. It's a USA-based website.
Yeah, get rid of that, Buck. Find another website. If the United
no
States
way.
is first in education, we're in
There's
serious
no
trouble in
way.
the world. Serious trouble.
There's no way.
Let me jump in this for a quick second. We'll go to the next subject. Is the biggest thing I believe is that you follow solid models. And one of the things I think that in society that's really starting to show positives in certain areas is conversation. I think you retain more through conversation sometimes than reading a book. And there's a lot of places like Sweden is one of them in particular, and Finland's another one. where they don't have a lot of homework per se, but and the subjects that they teach are tangible subjects that are going to be used, and you enroll yourself in the subjects, and a lot of it is conversation based, problem solving together as groups, because that's also another part of education is learning to work as a group in a team environment. We all played sports, so we know what that means. But in an education, situation, that's not always the case. And there's a lot of kids that come through the education system that have never been on a team environment, and then they go to work in an area where there's 300 or 400 or 500 people in cubicles, and they have no idea how to exist in that environment. So I do like the model that Finland and Sweden have. I don't know if there's a perfect model anywhere, but I think some of the things that we talk about tonight definitely.
I think Finland they don't even start school until the kids are 7.
Yeah. And there's
4 is too, in my personal opinion,
homework.
4 is too young.
I mean, I'm a big...
But the homework is not, you can't really say, oh, well, not every teacher gives homework.
I know.
And you're not, homework, because it can't be done equally by every household and by every student. I don't think teachers give... I'm not going to speak for every teacher, but I know many teachers don't give homework just to give homework. Like, I never give homework unless they don't finish what they did in class. Yeah. And I think most
that was
teachers
not the way it was
that.
when we were in school, Megan.
No, that's true.
It was norm for us to go home, and I think it really, what it did is it tested students to see if you'd stay with the pace. And a lot of students that choose not to do their homework fall behind. So it's more of a standard that you set in the classroom, and then you can see who follows the standard or not. Like, one of our friends that we've mentioned before is Bartley Sawatsky, and Bartley always made good choices that pertain to his education, and many don't, because they prioritize other things in their lives that are more important than the educational process. But that's not to say that one is right or wrong. I'm just saying that that's what the situation was with
funding. I think they keep cutting funding to education. So, like you said about the music program,
That's
I
terrible.
think it started with tech ed, home ec, then we'll get rid of this. Music keeps getting cut.
Especially with equipment and
right,
supplies.
But what's also happening is, I think I don't know for a fact, I don't know the stats or the numbers, but if you want to have an actual trained music teacher with the right qualifications to actually teach the kids, I think it's becoming harder to find and nobody has a music teacher that's 100%.
Right.
So then you're like, okay, well, we'll give you 20% at this school.
It's all budget.
20% at this school.
No.
And then you have to have someone who's like, sure, I'll drive to 5 schools in 5 days and teach.
Exactly.
Right. So I think the way they're doing it is one reason why it's becoming more defunded and harder to, art. When we were in school, we had an art teacher. Not every school has its own art teacher now.
I know.
Teachers are expected to do the art. And for a lot of teachers, they hate art. I love art. I would love to
I remember
do that. But there are
Michael
teachers
Gatto
who
was a
not.
great artist. Bartley was a great artist.
But if you're
Derek
not
Deacon wasn't
comfortable
bad.
with that, as an educator, you now have to teach that art curriculum because not every school. I mean, we're lucky we have an art teacher. He's great, but not every school has that. And then you're expected to teach art as well. And a lot of teachers are just like, okay, well, here.
We touched on something, and I think the timeliness of this in the education system is it's very, to me, apparent that we need to teach kids coping skills around mental health right now.
Yes.
And I don't know if there's anything like,
150%.
I know that teachers probably try to do this, and they
Every
probably,
day.
but this should be something that should be like forefront right now, because there's so many factors, and we can take the COVID stuff completely out of it. We needed it before COVID.
Oh, we needed it. We've needed it years ago.
Oh, and I just don't think I know my dad was very stoic. Like he just never, you couldn't tell if he was happy. You couldn't tell. He just was the same every day. But coming to find out that he had struggles, and he just didn't show it to us. But that was that generation. The men were said, don't show. So and for some reason now, more and more, the outward display of that inner turmoil is becoming more and more prevalent. It didn't when our dads, it happened, but maybe it wasn't in the media either. But now we just have so many things, and maybe it's the influence of, violence in movies and video games and things like that. It's possible. I'm not saying it is.
Screen time, technology.
Totally.
This is a big subject, right? A big subject we could spend a whole show on, really. Go ahead, Glenn.
All right.
Next subject.
Yeah. An easy one or...
I said we should have color-coded them, so you could have had an easy and then a, tough one.
It's all right.
Uh-oh. What?
Clothing and the effect on the environment.
Mm.
I'm not quite sure what that means, but
Well, we purchase a lot of clothing
okay.
on a regular
Okay.
basis,
Yeah.
and manufacturers of clothing, right?
Okay.
What do they do with the product they don't sell? That's
Okay.
the first
All right.
thing. Second thing, what do we do with the products that we don't wear anymore?
Okay.
Right? So in our case,
Value Village.
we give it to Salvation Army, Value Village, other places. But what happens if they don't sell it, Megan? What they do is they package things up that they don't sell, and they sell it to third world countries. And then the third world countries that don't use them, they throw it into the planet as landfill. It's an enormous, if you look up, and Michael can pull this up, it is an enormous topic to talk about because we really don't think about where clothing comes from. Now, you're talking about something that you're wearing tonight. How long have your family had that T-shirt?
Well, yeah, it was my dad's football, I guess, practice jersey, maybe. It's in pretty rough shape, but since the 70s.
Yeah. This jersey I'm wearing, I'm saying it's almost 15 years old. You don't see many 15-year-old pieces of clothing in your closet anymore.
Most of my underwear's at least 15
Well, Glenn,
years old.
please, let's not talk
No
about
shock
that.
there.
Oh, man, like really. But if
Sorry.
you look, are your clothes doomed for the landfill, right? It really is. Globally, 80% of discarded textiles are doomed for the landfill or incineration. 20% are actually reused or recycled. I mean, that's huge numbers. See, and the reason why I went down that path was we're always talking about plastic versus paper or glass, but clothing's a big part of it too. You know, a huge part
It
of
is,
it.
but wouldn't most clothing eventually break down quicker than plastic?
Oh.
Plastic are hundreds of years for something small to break down. So if I put a cotton T-shirt into the ground, I don't know.
Michael,
I-
pull
I
it up.
have-
You get a
How long? How
cotton
long?
t-shirt
Will, how long will it
Cotton
take
tree?
for a cotton
Is that-
T-shirt?
that
Cotton
what
T-shirt
happens?
tree.
Cotton
Yeah, a
tree.
cotton T-shirt to disintegrate in the ground.
I
I think it's a long freaking time, Megan.
in my job, I get to work with a whole bunch of different small businesses and I
Right.
talk to small businesses all over the world. And one of the
Okay.
most interesting conversations I've had recently is a company that takes discarded denim. So they go to all the companies that produce jeans, and when they cut the patterns out, there's waste. And that
Right.
waste just gets thrown away.
Exactly.
Like it's not used. So they take all the fibers and they break the fibers down, and then they repurpose the fibers kind of the way that you would repurpose like wool and stuff. And they turn it right back into textile, and they make handbags, and they make backpacks, and they make very nice things out of this waste, and they get the waste for nothing, like basically. So there's opportunity for people to use this waste if people are creative enough and have the energy to go out and build
Project
businesses
Runway
around
does
that.
it all the time.
Yeah. So, but it's again, Dennis, it's money. They're chasing, they're creating a certain amount of clothing, knowing they're going to sell a certain percentage.
Oh, they know
of
the
it.
percentages.
So they build the waste into their business model,
Yeah,
and it's
100%.
acceptable
Yeah.
on a business perspective for them. But is it diabolical in some senses that we have to deal with the overruns?
And I think the other thing
In some
too
senses,
is
yeah.
needs versus wants. I mean, we see the new pair of jeans. We see the new this, the new that. It's on a runway somewhere. It's in a store. You look at it. Our brains are taught that this is the new way to look, right? And I mean, you're wearing a T-shirt that's almost 50 years old.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm not saying it's
don't
fashionable.
Get me wrong. I will go out and buy
Yeah, of course.
I'm a shopper, so
Yeah,
I'm
I
not going
know.
to sit here and argue. Oh, no, I don't
no.
need new jeans. I know I don't need them, but I want them.
That's what I'm
And
saying.
it might
Needs
not-
versus wants.
Right, but it might not be because I saw it. I mean, it's different. I guess, yes. At a young age, kids through magazines, through movies, I see things I like for me now. It might not be something that, like a good example is I could go and buy something as an adult now at Walmart. I wouldn't care that it says George on the inside. If I'm like, oh, that looks
Right.
comfortable, Whereas if 16-year-old me, I would be like, no
Yeah,
frickin'
I
way
know.
am I buying something from Walmart. And that's part of the problem is that everything is about brand name and status. A little less sometimes, I think, than when we were younger, but it's like you're always trying to live up to
Other
whatever.
people's standards. Other people's
Right?
expectations.
But these big companies,
They thrive on that.
right?
And they market
American
it.
Eagle,
Right?
Hollister,
They market
they
that
can sell
heavy.
a stupid T-shirt for $48.
It's crazy.
Because they know as long as it's got the little logo on it, someone will pay $48 for that T-shirt.
100%.
Your jersey that you have on probably costs $120, $125 now.
No,
These
it
days it does. Not
Yeah, I was
now,
gonna say
but now
yeah.
it does.
Yeah, no, it's. I wouldn't spend that much money, but the bottom line is that I try to, as much as I can, within reason. If I like something, I try to keep it as long as I can and wear it as long as I can. That's all I try to do. Now, I'm not saying I'm the same way, Megan. I spend money on an annual basis on clothing, but I just think if we actually cut back 20% globally, what kind of impact we would make, right?
I mean, my
just
opinion
20%
has
less.
changed.
20% less.
Yeah, I mean, I've gotten rid of 3 large garbage bags of clothes. I
Right.
give them to my friend, and then whatever they don't want, I kind of send to Value Village because when I ended up being with Lindsay, she's a minimalist. Like, she doesn't have.
Right.
If I found a T-shirt I liked, I'd buy it in 4 different colors because I really liked it, and I wanted to make sure. Whereas now, I think my mindset has changed a little bit. And I've become a little more, I don't need 4 of that. And do I even need it at all? I have 3 other shirts. Do I need this one? How much is it? So I think as we get older as well, we start to, hopefully, most of us start to evolve and change a little. But
And we try, I think one of the things I'm doing with our humanitarian projects on a global perspective, like in Cuba or Dominican Republic, especially Cuba, is because they're not bombarded by commercials. There's just no commercials on television there. So if there's a kid that lives in Pernal de Rio or Holguin province, or there's 16 provinces there, if they live in the rural parts of this, like outside the city seems to be, they try to stay fashionable as much as they can. But in the countryside, a lot of this clothing that we have that we would just dispose somewhere, if it's not being used here, it could be used by kids, especially children clothing. Yeah. So, I just think if we just a 20% reduction like this year, say, okay, let's try to do 20% less and see what kind of impact it makes on the globe. It would be a lot.
even if they could put laws or something in place for some of those big companies.
You don't think it'd be a lot?
Globe. Really?
Oh, whatever, man.
I pick up on it all the time. So I just have this is a question.
I was like, he's shaking his head no.
Question. When do people... Yeah, I see that.
That is so. Now,
What is it?
you know Supreme's strategy, right?
I don't know what Supreme is.
Okay,
Oh my
Supreme
God.
is a logo,
Okay.
a brand.
Just a regular black t-shirt.
Yeah.
Just a T-shirt that
What-
has Supreme on it?
What Supreme is, and I don't want to go too far on this, but there's some. I've done some research on this. Supreme makes everything a limited edition, so they only sell so many of something, and then they don't produce it again, which brings the value of anything that they make up.
Could be a good thing in what we're talking about.
Yeah, well,
Not the money that's spent.
if
but
you,
the product.
Michael, if you spend $523 on a T-shirt, you'd be getting some whoop ass.
Not that.
I see what you're saying. It's limited edition, so they're making a limited amount of it, but I don't think they're making a limited amount of it to save the environment.
Exactly.
They're all
maximizing
evil
profit.
geniuses.
They're following the money.
Yeah,
They're
yeah.
following
Which
the
is,
money.
I mean, it's brilliant.
Truth.
It's evil brilliant, but it's brilliant.
Big question here.
Yes.
This comes back to something you said earlier. When
20 to 200 years,
That's,
Megan.
that's synthetic.
when
Cotton, Michael.
when do Cubans go to the bathroom during TV shows if there's no commercials? Like, this is a problem for me.
Do
I
they
don't think I
DVR?
could ever live
Do
there.
they pause it?
No, there's
Do
no
they have-
DVRs. They just get up. I mean, there's
They
just
missed the show?
yeah.
What if that's
Yeah.
when McDreamy dies?
I don't know, but I can tell you right now, honestly,
Grey's Anatomy, Glenn.
it's
Grey's Anatomy.
a dramatically different world. No
That's
commercials.
not, look, 1 to 5 months.
That's not too bad. That's
Right?
better. That's better, Meg. I like that. No, I like that. That's good. So we need to buy more cotton,
And you can get cotton materials
Or
now
hemp,
that are recycled.
or hemp.
Or hemp.
right? Hemp would be great. Okay, next question. Let's go.
Oh, is it just us?
Yeah, no, you guys pull them on.
AI robotics.
Oh, big one. Artificial intelligent robots. Big thing about right now, and a lot of the research I've been doing, is that Elon Musk is a guy that we've all heard of, and a lot of the billionaires in the industry that own certain companies, Jeff Bezos is another one that, if you look at the plants that they have set up for distribution, eventually humans won't be needed. Robotics will be, doing everything, right? Sophie actually is a robot.
seen this.
Yeah, so Sophie was actually she was interviewed by Tony Robbins. If anyone hasn't seen the YouTube video, it says just do a search on Tony Robbins interviews Sophie. She has actually been declared a citizen
What?
of a country.
Can you
What
can you
country?
play this and loop it in or?
I can cut it out if we want to watch it right now. So
Okay,
Yeah, let's just
okay,
let's get a look at it because I have seen parts of this, but
I
I
have
want
not
Okay.
seen it
All right.
at all.
to
we're gonna pause.
I'm
We're gonna
gonna
pause and
freak
give it back
out,
to you.
aren't I?
buckle in.
Oh God.
An ideal world would be one where humans could have a more expansive understanding of time. They could remember the past so as not to repeat it. They could see each other as children and elderly simultaneously. They could understand the impact of their actions in the present on future generations.
Tell me, how can humans and robots work together then in your mind? And how?
did you guys ever see a movie called Donnie Darko?
Yep.
And you see, the tunnel that's going. They talk about that being kind of like what she just talked about, being able to see. Donnie Darko could see his future
Yeah.
in front of him, right, and he could see his past behind him. So that's thought of as like in meditation and stuff as almost a form of a different vibration, being in almost a different dimension and seeing your entire lifespan in one.
But
and
whoever
it's nuts.
programmed her, couldn't he have just programmed whatever he wants in her?
He could, but
That's
I'll
not
tell
intelligence
you,
at that
this thing scares the shit out of Elon Musk.
I know, but if
He's the smartest man we got.
if whoever this was, if they I don't know, like I know nothing about this, so I'm probably going to sound like a moron, but whoever programmed her, yes, she's probably learning and growing, but couldn't he have just put his own spin on
could.
whatever?
He could have put just
And she
coding,
can grow and
but-
learn on top of that,
100%.
but still have the basic whatever he decided.
The problem is with
to
that
program
is that if
into
she can
that.
grow and learn, there's a point where she could bust that coding. Whatever he wrote into her, something that can learn on itself, will learn how to get rid of that original coding.
Yeah.
Not if they believe that code is.
Well, if we're told, like their responsibility is to protect the integrity of human beings, and all of a sudden you find people that are unethical, that are doing things to hurt human beings for a specific reason, i.e., military, or not so much military, but yes, it could be military, or it could be
Does this person work for a company or just on his own? He built this thing.
Tony,
No, the guy whoever built
Yeah,
who
the
built
company, Hanson Robotics.
Hanson.
It's a corporation.
I'm going to let it play out a little
Yep.
more because I'm interested.
Perhaps I'll introduce you to my AI, and the two of you could have some interesting conversations.
He has AI? The world's
Goodbye,
over.
Tony.
We're screwed.
It's been great meeting you.
It's been great meeting you.
Thank
as well.
you for sharing
has his
all
own
your
AI?
wisdom
Yeah.
with me.
I'm
So-
scared.
So here's the thing. So let's
a real
relax.
going down now.
Relax. Here's the thing. That's why I wanted this topic because I know that billionaires of the world, the people that are running our manufacturing, our food distribution systems, our fast food restaurants, are lower paying jobs right now, right? They will all be replaced by robots at certain points. Now, here's why. If you can buy a robot, never pay any wages, no sick days, right? No vacation time. You plug them in, they go to work. They're more likely going to be more efficient. They'll make less mistakes because we're human. We make mistakes. All of a sudden, a major corporation like Amazon says, well, we're just going to hire all robots. And when we get to that point, we'll have no choice. It'll already be decided. It'll already have gone through Congress. It'll already gone through, Parliament. Those decisions will already be made behind the scenes. And then all of a sudden, what do humans do? And that's what, and you start thinking about it, like, where are we really headed? And that's where I value Glenn and his research because he digs, and I have too, because I believe in the human race, but I don't believe in human power. I don't believe in the influence that's running our world, that they're doing it for our benefit. They look at us like lab rats. They look at us like we're totally disposable. And when the day comes that we are disposable, we will be. That's why they use lab rats in the lab. They do investigative.
To come aboard.
Right?
Why,
Right?
yes, Jason.
So let's, now that we have that kind of in our system, I'm going to actually go back in when we start recording again and saying, we just watched.
Still recording.
What?
I'm recording the entire time.
Oh, okay. So you'll have to yeah. You'll have
No,
to
I
edit
mean,
this.
I don't think you should edit that out. I mean, these are things, and it's thought provoking.
Exactly.
For sure. I mean, we're on the way. Like there are already jobs that have been replaced by AI,
robots,
right? And you know,
AI.
Most McDonald's orders are now taken on a screen instead of having somebody that will take your order.
Or a grocery store.
Right. Grocery stores as well.
Walmart.
Yeah. So that you can check out yourself. You know, these are machines that are replacing human jobs. It's inevitable that that's going to happen because in a free state, capitalist society, money is the rule of the day. Responsible companies have, I guess, the interests of their employees are part of the equation, but they're not necessarily the ones that lead to how they make decisions.
I agree.
At the end of the day, it's going to come down to how can they be the most profitable. Now,
I agree.
acquiring one of these AIs right now is probably in the cost of millions of dollars to have an AI. So it's not imminently financially responsible for them to go out and get 1,000 robots to run an Amazon distribution center.
Exactly.
But it's coming. Technology always gets cheaper as we advance. It gets smaller as things advance. It gets easier to reproduce as we advance. And so when those things happen, that's something that's coming down the road. I don't think so. I think that, you know, one of the things when I do the research that I do and the topics that interest me is I think that when we watch movies actually are telling us the way things are going to happen.
I agree with that in a lot of ways.
The elite reveal things to us through Hollywood.
Yeah.
Because, and if you really want to dive down to it, we need to have a level of consent in order for the powers that are in charge of things to be able to do, and this does come down to a bit of a religious belief for me. I believe that God has a contract with the devil, and he tells the devil that, you know, you can do things to humans, but you have to get them to agree to it. There's actually scripture, I don't know what the verse is, that talks about this specifically. You have to reveal to them what they're going to do, and they have to agree to it. But once they agree to it, they're yours. And I don't want to get into the good versus evil of that.
I know
but,
that.
So I think Hollywood is a way that they use that. And we have films like The Matrix. We have films like I, Robot. We have films like Donnie Darko is another one that comes
Ex Machina.
And there was Ex Machina. And there was one recently where, and I want to expand this because I think it's not just AI. I think that there's cloning that goes on. And I believe there are clones
That
now.
could be another whole podcast. It really could be.
But that's a form of
Should
AI,
be.
right?
It's
a created intelligence. Even though it may not be through technology, they use technology to create clones, and they've done it with sheep. And we've seen that in mainstream media, that they've cloned sheep, which I think is fantastically symbolic of what they actually clone. And I mean that you talked about when we are replaceable. I think that humans are literally livestock for people right now.
I agree.
And when we become what George Soros calls, what is it? Unproductive eaters was the term he used.
Wow.
We become unproductive eaters, and that's why if you dive down into a lot of the stuff that's considered conspiracy theories right now, that there's a culling of the human race that's coming.
Well, they're branding it, and they're branding the conspiracy theorist as the oddballs. And the reality is, I think, Glenn, and I can tell you because there's things I do believe in, things I don't believe in conspiracies. Sure. But the reality is, and I love what you say all the time, ask questions. Yep. We're not asking enough questions. When you see an interview like that, and Megan, you haven't said a word
because I've been teaching all day, and this is way too deep a topic for a 5-minute buzzer.
I know.
And I'm like, I'm not wrong one.
It's scary. This is scary.
It's a whole podcast.
I was going to say, that's a conversation. I mean, that's a rabbit hole that I don't really right now with no liquor in me and a full day of teaching and 3 questions in feel like even attempting to start.
All right, let's go. Pull the next one out. We'll do a whole podcast one night.
Too much. That video was too much for me.
AI's.
Yeah, that video did me in.
It's a lot to see, though.
Okay, so this one says CERB CRB tax implications in 3 months.
Yeah.
Wow. So for American viewers, this is kind of, if there are anyone in America, the CERB was the Canadian financial support that was given to people that were found themselves out of work for whatever
Right.
reason during the COVID lockdowns.
And there's other ones, the CEWS, and there's so many other things that are out there. But the reality is that if you are, we're at the last month and a half of 2020, we get into tax season, we have some massive problems coming taxation-wise. I mean, you think about how many people, and it was funny because I laughed so hard the other day when someone said the government gave advice to everyone to save $700 of the $2,000 to put back towards their taxes. And that is why we do payroll deductions. When you're in society, ask yourself this honest question. Out of a complete 100% of people in society, if you were given your complete paycheck, how many people would actually save the amount that's necessary for taxes, employment insurance, and Canada Pension Plan? It just wouldn't happen.
No,
and you've just opened up a Pandora's box that I don't know can be solvable by any government when it comes to next year for taxes. We have a lot of our citizens in this country, and many others are going to have a big problem.
I was going to say, I think tax time is going to come. And I don't know a lot about this. I mean, I taught, so this isn't anything I qualified for. So honestly, I don't know a lot about it.
But Megan, it's a common sense thing.
Yes, that's what I mean. I think come tax time, there are going to be a lot of upset, angry, freaking out.
Oh. I don't know if they'll be upset. There's a couple of levels of this, and I think that the financial implications of Canada just printing money to hand out to people for no reason is going to be long-reaching as well.
Yeah.
But as far as the tax implications go, people are going to do their taxes, and they're going to have a deficit, and they're going to have to pay in, and some are going to pay in if they can afford it, and others are going to not pay in if they can't afford it.
But when I say upset, I mean, I think there are people who didn't realize, you know what I mean? I think
Oh,
they
many.
got
I don't know.
it.
Yeah,
There's a few.
Many.
There's a few.
No, there's many,
yeah,
Glenn.
but there's no excuse because
Yes, there is. It's called human nature.
Well,
that is the
I know.
excuse.
No, but
But
you and I had this
if
talk
you-
about educated.
Yeah,
you know,
I agree.
Money's
Sure.
not free. You know, there's always they're giving you that money.
Yeah.
I think I agree. Like most people should be like, okay,
So I'll ask a question.
there's got to be a.
All right. So
Yeah,
let's
I know a few people who.
so
didn't take it.
let's ask this question then. And I asked this to many people today
Yeah.
as a precursor to this podcast. Okay, so Glenn Carey makes so much money per year, and he's in this bracket based in 2019. He requires some financial assistance for whatever reason in this pandemic. You basically tax him and withdraw those taxes based on his 2019 performance to gauge at least an average. So if he was in a 42% tax bracket, every $1,000 the government sent him, $420 would be held in taxation for the money that's being sent. That means that's payroll deductions. So if you look at employment insurance in Canada, and I don't know what it's like in the United States, Glenn, but employment insurance, they only take 10%. Why in the world would you give someone employment insurance and only tax them at 10%? If he's a fisherman, right? We live in the South Shore of Nova Scotia. They're in the upper 3 or 4% of income earners in the country, and you're going to tax them at 10% and then hope that they're disciplined enough, knowing human nature is not going to be the case. So you're always behind the 8 ball. I believe they already know that. I believe they already know that a lot of people are going to fail.
They are,
Yes.
and again, if you want to follow some of the conspiracy theories down there, they're going to.
Why do you keep saying that,
Well,
Glenn?
it's timely, and this is the stuff that interests me. And
Right, I know.
And look, I don't believe in every conspiracy theory out there, but I
We
think
need
when
a really cool soundbite
Yeah.
for like conspiracy theories, like a good one that's like
Good
funny.
alien.
Keep on that.
But like. There's a move towards a universal income. Like there's a group of
I
people
know,
that
I've
believe
been
we're
told
moving
that
towards
too.
a universal income.
I've been told
And in
that.
order for us for that to kick in, you have to have a worldwide financial collapse. In order
100%.
to switch over to that,
Yep.
because we're not gonna buy it unless there's some massively overwhelming financial distraughtness. And part of CERB, the government does this all the time, and this is why I know we need government for roads. We had this talk last time.
Exactly.
And there are certain things we need them to do, but we don't need them to do everything. It's kind of like you don't want to teach kids to do, home life skills all the time. And I agree with you 100% on that. We don't need the government to do everything for us. I can wipe my own touche, but the government probably taxed me for that eventually. And I know that's extreme, but this CERB, like the government created a crisis with the way they responded to COVID. Is it appropriate? I don't know yet. I don't have enough information on that yet.
It's
maybe
coming,
it
though.
is, maybe it's not.
I hope
but
it's
they
not.
created a crisis by locking us down and closing businesses. And then they ride in on their white horse like the hero and try to hand out
backpack of TP.
Man, exactly. And they hand out all this cash, and now everybody's like, "Oh, the government, thank you so much for this money. We wouldn't have been able to buy it." But you know what? If they wouldn't have shut your business down, nothing would have changed.
Exactly.
So, again, like I'm not dissing COVID. I know that people are sick. I understand. I don't understand it all.
But there's some major ramifications coming.
Massive. The
that
financial
people
impact
don't
of
realize that are much bigger than what they thought would happen from the disease.
You can't just print money. You can't just say, now we're going to give out $70 million in CERB support. It's got to come from somewhere. So where did it come from? Well, there was nowhere it came from. The government just decided to print
the education and healthcare system.
Yeah, they cut it out, or they cut it out somewhere that's going to have a deficit.
Yeah.
The U.S., like I'm a U.S. citizen, and I do my taxes in the U.S. every year. I'm probably one of the only expats that lives, abroad and don't make enough money that I have to do it, but I do it because I do have, privileges of being an American citizen. Yeah. So I did my U.S. taxes this year. I got a $1,200 check from the U.S. for CERB, even though I haven't lived there in 3.5 years. There's supposed to be another $1,200 check coming. The U.S. did this too. They didn't do it to the level that Canada did.
Yeah,
I don't know what other countries around the world did. But, when you start printing money, there's problems. Not just taxes, but, financial implications of inflation.
Yes.
Watch the way the inflation goes.
Glenn's dominating the stage here, and that shouldn't be the case for you.
No, I said I don't feel. I mean, I told you, I think come tax time, I do think there's going to be people upset because I don't think everyone educated themselves when that money came in the mail or direct deposit.
If I was free money.
I think a lot of people, I saw
free
things
money.
that, right, like, woo-woo.
Yeah, free money.
Because
on TikTok?
Right, on a lot of places.
People bought cars. People bought cars with their CERB.
I know.
And were like, this
cars.
is a huge amount of money. And they didn't take the time to sit for a second. Like, I have a few friends who have kids in their 20s, and some of them got it because the whole summer job thing, they couldn't. But they educated their children and said, I think you should just keep this. Let's keep it in a separate account. Let's not spend it. And let's just wait till tax time rolls around and see what.
So I'm going to give you
friends
concept.
Who are very smart, and we're like, this seems too good to be true.
I'm going to give you some
You're
business.
going to owe money. I feel like you're going to owe some money.
I'm going to give you a big one. Here's a big bombshell. Let's take the Canadian government gave out a $40,000 loan until the end of 2021. No interest. If you paid 10% or $10,000 of it is just free money.
Grant.
Right? You grant money. $30,000 has to be repaid by the end of 2021 or 2022. 2022, I think it is. So if you pay it back before then, it's 2022, end of 2022, you get to keep the $10,000. Wealthy entrepreneurs across Canada, it doesn't matter how big your company is, how small it is, you can apply for that. And if you own multiple companies, you can actually apply for each one of your companies. So you could take, if you own 5 companies, you could take the money from the government because there's no interest on the loan until the end of 2022, keep the $10,000 of each one of those companies, invest it, pay the rest of it back at no penalty, and keep the $50,000 and invest it. And invest that over 6.2 years. It doubles on average, and good investors could probably do a little quicker than that. Yeah. Bottom line is that there's entrepreneurs in this country that have taken advantage of it in a big way. Well,
I know what you're saying.
You're hoping that human nature would come into play to try to, but that's the thing about it. That's the thing, and that's what I'm saying. So if you expect multi-millionaires to do it, what would you expect for someone who makes $20,000 a year to do?
Yeah.
And those people that are multimillionaires, there's no tax on it other than what they earn in interest because the money was given to them. So, I mean, it's like, it's a grant.
That was the most money they've seen in a long time. Get a check
was it
that
$14,000
big.
or $16,000 over the course of 7 months or something like that?
To just get that coming into your house at a time when you're stressed, You're mentally probably not at the best. You might be stuck in your home. You might have lost your job.
I know.
You might whatever, and you get that. It's like Christmas. Like
You can
all
buy
of
a lot of shit on Amazon.
right.
I was going to say e-commerce went through the roof.
Oh, look at Amazon stock. Look at all those
Zoom.
tech companies, right? Zoom, yeah.
So ask yourself, you know.
Zoom was huge.
Yeah. So again, ask the question: is the government so
Naive.
naive, or is there design behind this?
I think it's.
Are
I
they,
think
are
it's
they trying to
design.
create? Yeah.
I think it's. Okay, another podcast because we could do that for 3 hours. I'm sure. Go ahead, Glenn. So, what's some great topics
I
this
love
week?
the government. I sent some topics to Mike, and they were softballs compared to these. I mean,
Now, where are all these like light ones?
What's
I
this
know.
one?
Man,
What's this one? There's some light ones in there.
Christmas shopping.
Oh wow!
In 2020.
Where are we going to
helping
spend our money?
Those in need.
Jeff.
Hefty Bezos.
Well, Amazon has, and Amazon could be a podcast.
Yeah.
So, but okay, let's just. That's the question. Going to be is where are you going to spend your money? Let's say that. Where are you going to spend? Where are you going to spend your money this year?
My Christmas shopping's all done.
Okay, where? Where did you spend your money?
Some local.
Yeah.
A
Where?
lot online.
Give me some local.
Halifax.
Give me some local. Where?
Oh man.
Give me some ideas.
I did some T-shirts for.
You don't want to give away any gifts.
Yeah.
Right. So I did some. I'll give parts of it. I did some T-shirts for our boys through
Right.
Richard
Anyone
Hall.
that loves
Okay.
Megan, turn off the phone. Stop watching for 3 minutes right now. Just stop. If Megan loves you, stop.
Not what gifts you, but where you bought. Richard Hull is a printer that does printing here in the local area.
He's done that shirt I wore in my podcast, The Love Who You Want.
Yeah.
I saw that design online. I told you for like triple the price. Like I'm not paying $80 for a hoodie. So I go online and I find pictures I like of different things.
Yeah, and get him to do it.
And then I can say, can you do this? Sometimes it's like I can't based on what you want, and sometimes it's a really easy fix.
Richard's one that does it. Brevin Supplied Arts is another one that's been here for a long time.
And it's great. The prices are very reasonable.
Yeah.
I said he's really busy right now, but I said as long as I get them by Christmas. So I can send him stuff, and I find those are great gifts because you could put he's doing canvas now with pictures.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to give a gift that's a little bit different, right? Like we got pictures done when we went to the old satellite station in Charleston, which is phenomenal. If you've never been, our boys loved it.
Really?
And we got a really nice family picture there, so we can take that,
Good.
blow it up on a canvas. It becomes a Christmas
Great
present.
gift. I love that idea.
You didn't hear that, Lindsay? Open the big present first.
I can mute it. I can bleep it.
No, leave it on. Glenn, what about you?
Well, this kind of ties back into that last question because we've just been indoctrinated to buy stuff online when all these small businesses got shut down. So people that did shop locally and would go shop locally didn't have a choice. I mean, they literally had to go and buy things if they needed something online. And then they probably bought something they wanted online because it was so easy. Right, and they probably could get
I bought a lot
cheaper.
on Amazon.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie. I didn't buy everything
listen,
local.
it's one of the
when
easiest
you've
way
got
to do it,
boys
and it's
who want
bombarded
toys
on your
and
phone.
want specific things,
Yeah,
and a lot of
exactly.
it is not in Canada. Like that's the big thing. Like that's why people love to shop in the States, not only for the prices, but the availability of things, especially
We're
when
going to
you
do it.
have
And listen,
children.
we're going to have a special Amazon podcast between all four of us when Barry gets back. But yeah, Amazon's huge.
Yeah, so
I spent a lot of.
Look, I bought Amazon Prime last week. I finally caved
Did you?
because of Christmas. And I was like, you know what? Free shipping and all of this is great.
wait,
but
wait.
now I get Amazon Video, which is fabulous.
Look at it. Nobody buy these this Christmas because there's already people that have bought
Oh,
all
yeah.
of them.
Yeah.
Oh wow,
And they're selling one.
that's in there too, Michael. That's in there too. That's in there too.
So
my God.
for me, I haven't bought all my Christmas presents yet, but some things are like we're starting to see shutdowns across the country right now. Like BC is shut down, Alberta shut down today. Youth sports in New England has been shut down and locked down. We're seeing Toronto under lockdown. So how we can shop could play into the answer that I would give on that. I don't know yet, but if we go under lockdown again, we're not going to have any choice. Trudeau has come out on a couple of different occasions now and said we might not have Christmas the way you want to have Christmas, and then he looks all
Moistly.
Hey,
into the camera.
leadership like.
Right.
Leadership
Well,
like.
yeah, evil.
We call it
evil sweats from his
moistly,
pore.
Glenn.
Moistly.
He looks
getting that.
moistly.
Getting that
So
audio clip.
yeah, well, there's
Is that
there's
a Jason
too.
Momoa term?
No, it's
No,
No.
Trudeau did that. Remember, he said we
so
need
we speak too
to
moistly.
we need to stop speaking moistly.
Oh wow!
Oh, my goodness.
And
He's
it
scary
became a
human being.
meme, and it became like they just kept saying the word
immediately
moistly.
regretted it.
There's a
Moistly.
songify out there that has
Yes.
them doing it
Man.
Over
to
and
make you
over
laugh.
Wow.
again.
So my answer is I don't know yet. I
Yep.
would love to be able to shop locally. I would love to be able to go out, but again, I choose not to wear masks, so I really feel uncomfortable going.
Here's a
out to
cool one.
stores.
Here's a cool
And
one.
I don't because of that.
I love Troy Wynot, right? Troy Wynot Construction, a guy who's traveled with me in the Caribbean, works really hard in his business, done very well. Troy does a really cool thing. He buys all gift cards.
Yep.
He walks into Sobeys, and he buys gift cards for all the people he's going to buy Christmas gifts for. And then what he basically does is tries to get them to spend the money locally. That's what he tries to do. So all that money stays there. And I'm not just talking like we're in this podcast. We're from Bridgewater, Nova Scotia, Canada, but you could do that in any area that you live in. And that will help the economy out enormously. You walk into a River Pub with Rob Keevil, or you walk into a Boston Pizza, right? And you buy BP gift certificates that can be circulated in our economy for families to go out for a dinner, which is a really cool gift.
Yeah.
Because you're spending time with each other. That's a gift. Time is a gift. So when you give that card, you're giving a meal and time together as a family. And I think that's really where my focus is
You
going
can
to be.
get, and I mean, there's. Go ahead.
I was just gonna say that would be a really good call to action for folks is to
Yeah,
go out
100%.
and especially if there is shutdowns. Like if you live in an area where you're locked down right now, go and find out the businesses that need help.
Yeah, no kidding.
And if you can buy gift cards from them,
Well, you're
go
giving
and
them
buy
money,
them. Yeah.
but you're getting value back
Yeah.
at the same time, right? Which I love the idea. Totally love it.
Mike Anderson did a real cool thing, and Mike is someone that we kind of grew up with, and
Right,
he's
yeah.
a financial advisor in the area, and he went out and bought fairly large gift cards, and then he promoted the business on his Facebook page and said everybody that comments on this and shares it with their friends, someone's going to win this gift card.
I love it.
So,
That's
and he was
awesome.
able to go and do stuff like that.
Well, that's what we
Get
do with
some
Boston
exposure.
Pizza with ours. I mean, Boston Pizza is a sponsor of ours, and we try to get people to interactively work with us
Yep.
on the podcast as comments, and then we give it away. And I think if we do more of that, it helps our local economy.
But I mean, you can think outside the box too. Like Lindsay and I bought each other. I did for her birthday, I believe, and she did for Christmas, or vice versa. I think it was Christmas. But we bought each other tattoos at N&M Tattoo with Nick and Mary because we're both into tattoos.
Yeah.
They're not cheap. So
They're gifts.
right, I got one for her for
That has meaning.
Christmas, and then she surprised me this year. Actually, I got the tree. That was my birthday present.
I love it.
And so it's something that's different, and it's not something you necessarily would think of. But I mean, you can find things locally that you could get a gift card to, or you could do something that doesn't have to be, well, you go to dinner or you buy a T-shirt. But there's things, if you know your clientele, you can find things locally that people like.
And I'm going to tell you, Megan, one of the businesses I own is a contracting business with Canada Post. And I'm telling you, you would not believe the amount of Amazon parcels that come into our community.
I got 2 today.
And we're nothing. Like we're a scratch on the surface. Like you go to major centers, the amount of product that's coming out of his facilities is astronomical.
Oh, I believe it. I mean, even I said I just signed up for Amazon Prime.
And that's fine because it's free shipping. And
But it's not. But even that, I mean, there are some products that right now I bought them a week ago,
right.
and the delivery date is like a certain date up to December 20th.
But it comes quicker.
But I mean, it's still though, right? They're saying it could be that long, and
Amazon in the States is crazy. Like it's
One
a
day.
different ball game here. Like
Yeah.
you get same day delivery for stuff.
Yeah.
I used to buy groceries on Amazon.
That you
it
can't, and that's
that's what I've got friends who
it's
say that. And, I'm
And let me
like,
tell you,
wow.
this guy, and I don't want this to be dominated by Jeff Bezos but this guy's thinking living in outer space, having spots in outer space where you'll live. So it's another one
such
big
thing,
whole
Dennis.
podcast topic.
There's no such thing.
There is no such thing as space, Dennis.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Time is infinite on a flat plane. Sorry, Glenn. I had to.
I don't remember saying
I
that.
love you. I know. That's why it's funny.
What's this
Okay,
one?
so we must be short on paper because there's a big scratch
see.
out on this here.
Oh, no, this is the BP question.
Recycling.
So this is
Boston
when
Pizza.
when you dine at Boston Pizza,
Yeah, what would you choose?
do you prefer pasta or pizza?
Yeah.
Neither.
Neither? So what would you choose? What would
I
you
get
order?
the Bandera pizza bread every time because
Yeah.
it's the best. And they finally put on the menu. I loved the chicken Thai bites.
Mm-hmm.
but they turned it into a wrap. So you can get the chicken, because I never ordered the chicken Thai bites because
Right.
I wanted something.
You like
a little-
spicy food?
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
So they
do
turn
we.
the chicken Thai bites into a chicken Thai wrap, and I always get yam fries with it. They're
Very
yam
cool.
fries with their dip. So and then a white wine fishbowl of white wine sangria.
on Friday nights. Glenn, you're not a big bread guy. I
No,
know.
I limit my carbs. I do treat myself. from
Of
time to
course,
time.
absolutely.
When I do treat myself, pizza's always high on my list.
Yeah, mine too.
It's goody.
I do love pizza. I mean, who does? I guess there are.
They do have a cauliflower crust up there that does have limited
Yeah.
carbs, which is
Absolutely.
actually quite tasty. And you can get, and for me with pizza, it is the Hawaiian, and I do get hot pepper on it, and I do enjoy that quite a bit.
Can we call Boston Pizza up right now and order
okay.
pizza?
How quick would they deliver? Because
My go-to thing is always wings. Like wings are what I love. And they have good wings, but I prefer the dry rub, and I prefer a little sauce on the side, so I don't end up with just all over my face.
yeah,
'Cause
I don't like
when I eat
eating
wings,
for that reason.
when I eat wings, I
You dig in.
I don't.
It's like ribs.
It's not
I
dainty.
dig in.
It's not
eating
dainty.
ribs for
I
that
go at
same
it,
reason.
right? So
I'm
and
a
I love
pizza
ribs
guy.
too.
The one that I eat at Boston Pizza a lot is the tropical chicken because it's not something you see on everyday menus. So I love their tropical chicken pizzas. I order a small one, which is too big, and then I just take the rest home. So, and I do love chicken Alfredo, which they have as well.
I love going to restaurants. I would go out and eat out every night at a restaurant if I could afford it. But I'm also
You should have got the Serb.
screwed.
Or if you comment on the YouTube channel or our Facebook page, you can get $30 off.
We can
because
win?
No,
I was
no,
like,
you guys.
you
can't
and I
win.
are going to just
No,
keep
no, no.
commenting back
No,
and
you guys,
forth.
there's no chance for you guys
Just
to win.
monopolize.
There's 100% no chance for you guys to win. All right, let's go to the next one. So, hey, consider Boston Pizza for your next meal. There's lots of options. There's lunch menus, and they definitely have family menus. And then on top of that, there's also a sports bar with brand new technology there. You can watch all your favorite sports shows at Boston Pizza. Not just in Bridgewater, where we live, but across the country. What's that, Meg?
PS5 release.
Oh, and Michael just put it up on the screen. So there's a big problem with PS5 releases, I guess, because what's happening is people are buying them. The biggest thing that I wanted to go for is not so much about the PS5 release, is what video game do you guys remember the most growing up? That's the one thing I wanted to go
I've
over.
got two. One's
was that?
fairly lame.
Well, what was it?
When we had the Commodore 64 with the big old floppy disk,
Mm-hmm.
and like one of the first games that was on there was like a room decorating. So you would pick the color of your walls. I'm not
What?
even joking.
Are you
and you
kidding
would put
me?
the bird cage in, and
This
you could
legend?
put a dog. Just listen. This is the first one I played. I
The
remember.
Legend
And then you would
has
hit.
that game on her
You
console.
would hit animate, and the dog would bark, and the bird would, and the light would turn on. You would decorate the
What's
whole
the
room.
replay value on that game? Like, did you
I
just do
don't
that
even
a lot,
remember
or-
what the name of it was. I just remember putting
I
that
don't remember the
floppy
name.
disk.
I would do that
And
once.
then Mario. Definitely Mario would be the
Okay.
big one. Like
Mario Brothers. Oh, yeah.
Mario
it was
Brothers.
huge.
I loved Mario
That was
Brothers.
Nintendo 64, Mike?
Yeah.
Well,
Mario
it was
Brothers?
Nintendo.
Well,
Nintendo, right.
Original
Yeah.
Nintendo, right.
Those would be my first two when you said what, those would be the first two I remember
All right.
playing a lot.
It goes into
Now, Glenn, you're a little older than Megan, so,
So I go
Pong.
way back. Like I can remember one of my favorite
Pong?
video game memories.
Pong?
Well, I did play Pong. I did.
Is it Galactica? The one where you,
Galactica,
you know what I mean?
well,
where
it
you
was-
went
Galactica.
across?
Galactica's the updated Space Invaders, so that
Space
was fun
Invaders.
too. But my favorite video game memory is going to the Bridgewater exhibition, and they'd bring in the video game trucks,
Yeah,
and Billy
yeah.
Cullimore would put a quarter
Billy
and
Cullimore.
play Pac-Man for 17 days. Like literally, he knew all the patterns. He
all the
never died, and he could play Pac-Man forever. Like
Billy, you remember that?
so-
we remember
so-
you, man.
yeah.
You were a
And,
legend.
But it
the
wasn't just that.
arcade at the Bridgewater Mall too.
Well, there was. and
Oh.
that was after, but when we were young, they would cart him in on like the back of 18-wheelers.
Yeah.
But he could also play Donkey Kong.
Donkey
he could play
Kong.
Burger Time. He knew
Yeah.
all the patterns of every game. So
Burger
and
Time.
Billy's
The legend.
a really smart guy. If you
The
ever sit and talk
legend.
to him, he knows stuff.
We'll have to get Billy in some night.
He'd be a good person
We'll
to
bring him
chat,
in. We'll bring
chat
Billy
with.
in.
because, But just the fact that he could learn those patterns,
Oh,
like
my
it's just
mind.
freakishly
Yeah.
in
And not just
intellectual
one.
stuff. It was game
Multiple
after game
patterns.
after
I
game.
am not a good gamer at all.
I
My
wasn't
sons
either.
always ask like if they need help,
So-
and I try to like help. They're like, no thanks.
I had a Commodore 64 when I was a kid too, and Bartley and I and his brothers and my brother,
Right.
we would play decathlon over and over and over. That was a big one.
I remember decathlon was huge.
Decathlon,
Yeah, so that was a big one for us, and we would
I
play
like
winter
decathlon.
games and summer games.
Winter and
and
summer games.
Those were
Yeah.
big. My biggest game. My biggest game that I was good at was track and field. I could actually remember that one with the buttons.
Exactly.
I could run with one hand faster than most people could do with both.
Yeah.
And I was I
You
could
need
play
to
that
find
for
that
hours,
house
so
decorating one
that would
now.
prove- yeah,
Like
no.
I don't know even if it was what it was, but
Yeah, I'm
Love
sorry
that.
that you spent time. But I have a problem with video games. I really have a problem these days with video games. I think it's just innate use of time. And I think there's so much patterning going on in
But
video
Glenn, it
games now.
started with us.
Yeah, I know it did. And
Buddy,
you
it
know,
started with
I
us.
know it did. I know it did. I wish I could have all that time back
But I'm telling
and
you.
learn stuff instead of just
Like,
innate
I remember
use
the-
that time.
I learned what colors looked good together on
Well,
the
that
wall.
was, you know what, Megan, that's pretty cool because it's actually pretty practical if you
Thank
think
you.
about it. You, my brother-in-law, Darren
Was there
McDonald.
did you have a laundry video game too that you could just put laundry and push the button? it would
banking.
go
I
around?
stood in
Okay.
line at a bank.
My brother-in-law, Darren McDonald, we used to stay at his place
Oh, yeah.
all the time on the weekends when we played hockey, and he had an Atari that was just like that's one of the very first consoles ever. And if I would show you Atari, if Michael could pull up on YouTube an Atari like simulated baseball, Atari baseball,
Oh, yeah,
and
it was
show
bad.
it,
It was
it's
bad.
terrible.
Yeah, we
but we
played
were
for
so
hours.
mesmerized by something that would, oh my God, look at it moving, and oh my, can you believe we're actually in the game? And like today, video games, Michael says it all the time. The video games today, there we go. Yeah, real sports
it.
baseball. Like, look at
That
that, Megan.
Terrible.
That's the game that we played.
Oh my god! But we thought it was so awesome.
Unbelievable.
We couldn't believe this was happening on the screen. Like, look at them run,
Like,
and they
that's
turned. Like,
terrible. The other one I remember.
there was a golf one too.
Well, there's a handheld game called Tecmo Football.
Oh, yeah, I played that forever.
Which right
Dots.
here,
Did you
right
say
here,
Tecmofo?
Yeah.
Tecmo
Tecmo
Football, Megan.
Tecmofo.
Tecmo Bowl.
Okay,
Ball.
and right here, Bo Jackson. This was like in Bo
Well, that
Jackson.
wasn't handheld. That was on.
Yeah, but it was handheld too. It was both. You had a game
Okay.
console on Sega Genesis, something like that. Sega.
Sega.
Yeah, I think it was Sega, right? but
Tecmo
Bo
Bowl.
Jackson, Tecmo Football. Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl.
Tecmo Bowl, yeah.
Bo
Look
Jackson,
that up. And it's funny thing about it is anyone that's ever played it, Bo Jackson is my favorite athlete of all time. Like not because of Tecmo Bowl, but
Sure.
he's one of the greatest athletes of all time. Here it is, right here.
He's got a tattoo that says Tecmo Bowl
Yeah, but
across
he's
his back.
cheating in this
Oh,
game.
look,
Bo
this is-
Jackson
Yeah.
like cheating.
So Bo Jackson cannot be tackled in a certain route that he did. I could do this every time, 100%. That's Bo Jackson right there. Never be caught, never be tackled, and I'd win every time. So it's a game that you can win every time, which is kind of
Oh, Mike Tyson's Punch Out. That was another
Mike
one.
Tyson's Punch Out
Oh,
was
yes.
crazy. But what
It wasn't Mike Tyson's Punch Out. It was just Punch Out.
Punch Out in the beginning?
became
Yes.
Mike
What was it?
Tyson.
What,
Mike
remember?
Last Joe.
Uppercut, jab, uppercut. But Michael talks about today, video games are so advanced.
How much time have you gone off the
4K.
clock with this one?
4K. Like Michael, bring up a 4K
amazing.
video game. You know all the games, right? Bring up one of the most current. And we just watched what we played. Watch what the kids
I
are playing
watched
now.
my boys play Fortnite, and the
Fortnite.
graphics are insane.
I had
Unfortunately, it's not
Ozzy.
even that
Ozzy was
super
here
good.
from the Lumberjacks.
Yeah.
And I said, what do you do in your spare time? And he yelled at Fortnite.
Fortnite.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just part of their culture.
It is.
And it is so real that you immerse yourself into the game, right?
And even when you watch them, like I've tried to play with my boys just to be like, okay, I'll
Be
and
cool.
I can't
Yeah, can't
even
do it.
Keep up. Like there's so many buttons, and I'm back at like Nintendo 64 with like the two. Right.
Like, these are live, simulated games.
It's insane.
The way that it feels, I can tell you from a perspective, it's like how people talk about lucid dreaming.
Yeah.
And they say playing video games nowadays is more almost training for lucid dreaming.
It's
You're in
crazy.
full
I see
control.
some of these things, and I'm like, that's not a video game, but it is.
And so my question is, where are we going? That's another thing. We talked about artificial intelligent robots earlier in the podcast, which really blew us off the map. But when you look at how somebody will live in their bedroom and only be in a world that could only be artificially created, you cannot walk down the streets of Bridgewater. And like, I remember being a kid, being Luke Skywalker from Star Wars. I told my dad this the other day. He had golf tubes in his golf bag. red and white golf tubes, and we would use those. But I mean, look,
Crazy.
kids can be the NBA players, like literally.
I'm not even looking at the NBA player. Look at the crowd.
The
behind
crowd,
it.
100%.
Like in our generation, it was just
Look at the
colored
ovals.
ovals.
You can see the reflections of
Right.
light.
So
It's insane.
So where are we going? And that's what really bothers me is that you start to think, okay, so we have video games now in 2020. Let's go 2025. If we go back 5 years ago, right, and look at technology 5 years ago in 2015, look at 2020 now. We're in 4K and we're on the verge of 8K, right? Like literally on the verge of 8K that our eyes can't even recognize what's on the screen anymore. It's so vibrant, so colorful, so detail-oriented. If we
I
look
don't
at
think I could play a video game like this
Well, it's
because
real.
it looks too real.
It's
and I
real.
would not be playing. I'd start watching as if it was.
It's blurring the
game.
lines between reality and
I know.
fantasy.
Yeah.
And,
I know.
and, you know, if you talk about it, and we can kind of
Too
loop back
much,
to this.
man.
5
It's
years
too
ago.
much.
If we get
5 years.
So this is 5 years ago. This is NBA 2K15. This is great job, Michael. Great job. So that's just the preview.
story, yeah.
That's just the preview part.
I was going to say,
Which-
is this
that's
the game?
real.
Because that looks
Yeah.
better than today.
But the game is just, you know, in 2K15, it's just not as good. Not well. They just keep pushing every year, right? It's good. Like, see what I mean? Like, look at that. Look there. That was 5 years ago. Those are real photos right there. But 5 years ago, you know, Ernie Johnson and Shaq, they look. See, that's robotic there. It looks good. I remember Craig Kelly and myself and our friends would play, you know, PS2s, and we thought, oh my God,
Even
it's
the
unbelievable.
angle of the game, right?
Yeah,
it's up
totally
higher
different.
Now it's like
Right in the
right
game.
down there, like you're there.
You know where it came from? The bubble. NBA, when they had no crowd. That's originally from the original cameras that show, because it's up higher, right?
Yeah.
Then the bubble came into effect where there was no fans. So the cameras got closer and the fans loved it. So when they created the new NBA 2K20 or whatever they call it, it's like we were in the bubble. So it's totally different, and it's unbelievable. And where's that,
Hello.
Mike? Yeah, where's that, Mike?
It was at the Lakers game.
Here's the camera angle, right?
Yeah.
From the 2020 season in the bubble. That's the video game. No, that's the game. It's Michael. I don't
you
even
can't
know.
even tell. That's the live game.
Wow.
That's a real game.
That's
You
the
can't
real
tell.
That's
game.
real.
You
That's-
can't even tell the
That's
difference.
crazy. That.
Can you believe that? I couldn't even tell the difference.
All right, permission to come aboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We you know,
Come aboard.
missed time.
Needs to be loud.
NHL '94 though.
Yeah, that's a good
Come
game.
aboard.
That's when video games were video games.
Oh yeah, my turn.
Hey, but you know what? Pac-Man was my favorite video game. I love Donkey Kong. Love Space Invaders. All those fun ones. And Billy Cullymore, we're going to get you on a show soon.
Plastic versus glass or paper.
Oh, there we go. This is an easy one. Like just to talk.
Is this
Let's
a
talk.
preference or is this?
No, this is a conversation piece, right? Like, okay. So here's a question, Megan. Do you remember this? Because you're
No.
Yes, you do. Pop Shop.
Oh yeah,
You remember the Pop Shop?
totally.
Glenn does, but do you?
I mean,
You
I
can
had
still-
a Pop Shop Black Cherry Pop yesterday, but
Okay.
did we have a shop?
Yes, we
I
did.
Just bought it in the
Where
store.
the No Frills is right now.
Yeah.
Used to be the Pop Shop.
Oh.
Where
no,
you
I
could go
didn't
in
know that.
and pick your flavors.
What?
They would fill the bottles there, cap them,
When we were
and then we would go home
Yeah.
with our
Okay, if it was
soda.
when you guys were kids, I wasn't born yet.
Right, I know. No, that's not true.
Oh,
that's
I
not
If
true.
it was when you were a
when
kid-
you born?
Probably weren't. I mean, this is.
I was born in '76.
Yeah, we're
Well,
talking.
that's only 6
yeah.
years difference, hon.
We were talking about we were.
I
8
wasn't
or
going to
9
the
or 10.
Pop Shop when I was 2.
I'm not saying that.
You
but we
are.
Were, we were 10 or 11, I think,
No,
Glenn.
I
Which
think it was
would've
gone
made-
by then,
how
but
much
8
older
or
are you?
9, and maybe
We're talking over each other. Hang on.
8 or 9, maybe.
I
I don't
always
think
do.
it was that. No, but it wasn't the whole story either. It was just part of the where the IGA was at that time.
Yeah,
right? So
exactly. It was
You
extension of the
go.
IGA.
You go.
Exactly. Roland O'Brien used to run the IGA.
I worked
So here's the thing. What tastes better?
for our soda,
Yeah, well, no, soda, a drink, any
Oh.
beverage in glass or plastic.
100% glass.
Right?
Always.
So I mean, like, it's so why do we use so much
disagree?
plastic? And you know what?
A drink,
Megan?
I don't know. I don't
Hold on.
have a.
Do you agree with me again?
I don't really care as long as it's a drink I want and it's cold.
Okay.
Really? You don't taste the difference?
No.
Oh my god!
As long as it's cold. I mean, if you're going to give me an ice
No
cold
way.
glass,
glass is way better.
Yeah,
I don't
think it is
care.
too.
I don't
It's
know.
way
like,
better.
I don't sit there and mull over my drink. I mean, I would rather wine in
you-
a glass than a plastic wine glass.
I'll give you an example.
But,
San Pellegrino, sparkling water, right? San Pellegrino has 2 different ways that they bottle the water, in plastic or glass. If you take both of them and you blindfolded someone, they would notice a distinct difference in taste between the two, and they're
I
the
think
same
that's
product.
your opinion.
No.
We'll agree to disagree.
Okay, so we're going to blindfold you in one of our podcasts.
I'm sorry,
That would
is
be a fun
way
podcast.
above my pay grade.
We're going to
I am
blindfold you.
sorry, hard
You
pass
want to make a video?
on that one.
Open your mouth, Megan. Open your
Yeah.
mouth. Trust me. Open your
Listen,
mouth.
we're going to blindfold you down in Dennis's basement while we're
in
filming.
the studio.
Just open your mouth. Just,
Hard pass.
I love it. Anyway, I
do
think.
you like your job too much?
Okay, no, hang on. Here's a question. Do you mind the paper, no plastic? We're coming up with a mandate in the province.
Oh, it's already gone.
No plastic, right?
Yeah, it's already.
So
started.
do you mind the paper? Like, do you mind paying 10 cents for a paper
I've
bag?
been using my own shopping bags for a long time, so
Yeah.
for me, it's not a big deal.
A lot of bacteria in that. But anyway,
I have.
But there's no bacteria in the bags that get sorted everywhere.
I know.
I mean, I'd rather use.
would you mind, Megan, like 10 cents for a bag?
I hate paying for bags, but I have my own bags I use. I just always forget to bring them to the store
Yeah,
with
no
me. I've got
kidding.
like 50 of them in my trunk, and I go in, and then I'm like, well, shit.
Yeah.
And I've got
me
a
too.
full
I'm the same way.
cartload, and then I'm like, I'm not going back out, so then I've got to pay for paper. It's my own fault. I mean, it makes way more sense for me to just use the reusable ones.
If you're watching the podcast, give us some suggestions on how we could remember these bags easier, because that's one thing.
I think
just,
eventually
you know what I
it
mean?
will just happen. It just it's been in my
Have
neighborhood,
it.
Are they in your
just not
trunk?
need them.
Are they in your trunk?
Store
Put them in your
them
back seat.
vehicle, yeah.
Ah, good idea.
I
Go
can't
ahead.
because my boys are in
Yeah,
it so much.
yeah.
Then they get dirty. Their shoes and you know,
I keep mine in my bag. I don't have one in there.
keep
But,
Give a
them in the
dog.
trunk.
A
Well,
good
I-
dog.
but the dog
I
stays in
usually
the
keep
backpack.
2 or 3 in my purse, like the ones from Old Navy, because if you go back to Old Navy and use it, you get a certain percentage off your.
I like that.
Yeah.
I'd like to say this though.
Yes.
So there was a time when the cost of doing business as a grocery store included providing stuff to carry your bag, your groceries out
Amen.
in, right?
Amen.
And you know, we're already spending a boatload of money in there. Like,
Enough,
I can't walk
right,
in a grocery
enough.
store without spending $200 these days,
Yeah.
right?
And you're single.
I am. I mean, I eat.
You heard
Quality.
it here first, ladies. Glenn is single.
Why do you?
Yeah, I guess.
Put
so.
the
Yeah.
comments down. Permission to come aboard.
I'm not available.
Attaboy. You never know what Megan Walker's going to say.
So,
on this podcast,
but thank you. I
honestly.
appreciate it. If I ever need a wing man, I know where to go.
Wing woman.
That's-
Wing woman. Wing
Wing
person.
person.
Wing person.
There
There
you
we
go.
go.
So,
Flying throughout the sky.
we're not even like drinking anything.
I know.
I
It's
know, it's like you
sparkling
guys-
water.
So
well, I am, but you guys aren't.
the cost of doing business, like I get it, but I mean, groceries are expensive, and
100%.
you know, is 10 bags at $1 going to kill me? No, it's not going to kill me. But when you start doing that,
But you shouldn't
know,
have to pay for
what-
that.
You know,
That's what you're saying, right?
I am kind of
Yep.
saying that, and I think that businesses are doing that more and more because profit margins are down, and you know, inflation, and you know, the entire logistical you know, construct is broken right now trying to get groceries.
But I mean,
here.
how can profit margins be down when you're selling toilet paper for twice as much as what you normally actually sell it for when you have a pandemic? I mean, I was in Cuba when I watched you guys in our hometown where I saw no toilet paper in the shelves.
Yeah.
Like, and it was being sold for twice as much.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
they're taking advantage of the
Yeah,
situation.
sure. Well, that's what they're doing with bags too. Is they're taking
Yeah,
advantage.
I
of-
think
and
I
they're
agree.
making money on bags.
So that's a federal provincial issue. I mean, we should really.
It's free state. Like I don't want the government to tell us what to do.
Yeah, I
anymore.
agree.
So
Yeah.
you know, I wish businesses would have consciousness.
Megan, I love the button. Megan's like, press the button, Michael. Okay, let's move on.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Oh, there's a tough one.
Not really.
No, it's tough.
The intellectual side of me likes Star Trek more.
I knew that was coming,
The
Glenn. Dear God.
The fun.
How can you say the intellectual side?
Well, because they have a more deep, like, and I don't believe in space, just so you know. But as far as entertainment value goes, they just have a more.
There's some really
structured
quirky
side.
shit
There-
back in the
well,
Star Trek day.
There is, but there's
Ugly.
really quirky. I mean, the original Star Trek is the old, like it's older production.
I know, but the
costs.
original Star Wars was
But it's more political.
monumental.
But the original Star Trek, it had a
77, man, 77.
politics side to it. Like
Megan was 1 year old.
Yeah, true.
And I would not watch it then, and I would not watch it now.
Star Wars now.
The first real lightsaber ever created. Retractable.
Wow.
Yep. So Star Wars is more fun. Star Wars, like if I were to compare it to comic books, like DC would be Star Trek and Marvel would be Star Wars.
Well, okay. That's a good comparison. I like that.
But I like them both at different times in my life. I've watched all the Star Wars movies.
I have too. I've watched all the Star Trek.
And I watched every Star Trek, like Saturday afternoon. It was on just before or after wrestling. I can't remember when we were kids.
Wrestling?
Was
that Grand Prix?
No, it was the
WWF.
WWF?
Yeah, so we wake up in the morning.
Listen, man. Let me
was
tell you a
after
story.
wrestling.
Let me tell you a story about WWF. 1985. My brother Sean and my brother-in-law, future brother-in-law, were at my parents' house, and this was, I don't know, probably 11:30 at night. It's called Saturday Night Main Event. This is before the Saturday daytime stuff. And Sean yelled downstairs, "Hulk Hogan is on TV." Well, it was a full-blown sprint from the basement to the TV. We're talking a 27-inch floor model picture tube. Yeah. And to see that was it was a cartoon character.
I still have the Hulkamania foam #1 finger, my Macho Man bandana.
What you gonna do?
And I have all of the wrestlers that I've been told are probably worth a mint on eBay.
Oh,
All of them with the ring and the cage.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hang on to those, Megan. I was a huge fan. Now, I had a poster of Macho Man with Elizabeth in a string bikini.
I love it.
In hindsight now, it probably was more for Elizabeth, and I just didn't realize it than it was for Macho Man. However, I digress.
Okay, that's Megan's podcast. Go to Megan's full podcast, and you'll hear why.
I'm gay.
What?
Permission to come aboard? My dad used to take us when WWF came to the Forum.
Sure.
Yeah.
I got a rose from George the Animal Steel that I still have pressed in my Bible that I got when I was confirmed at 16.
Crazy.
Yeah,
you
but
love
my dad
wrestling.
Always had. When I wanted to be an
podcast, we got to do a
trainer,
podcast on wrestling.
I wanted to be in the WWF. My goal.
Who's your favorite wrestler
of all time?
No, finish your story.
Okay, so this was my goal.
You've only answered the one Star Trek or Star Wars. We're going to wrestling.
Star Trek, The Next Generation was the best. I don't watch Star Wars. I'm not a Star Wars fan. I had to watch it because my 8-year-old was obsessed, but I would not watch it on my own free will if I had to.
So for me,
just The Next Generation. That's the only Star Trek I watch.
For me, the greatest scene for me, as a dreamer in the world, which I am, is Luke Skywalker standing in Tatooine in the very first scene of Star Wars. And I remember being a boy, a young boy, and there's a picture book that George Lucas actually launched because they didn't have any figurines out. The company that actually was supposed to manufacture all the figurines, they were behind schedule. So they actually launched a picture book. And in that picture book was Luke Skywalker standing on Tatooine, looking up at the stars, wondering what's his purpose. Like, what am I here for? Like, I shouldn't be here. You know what I mean? And
wondering, is Tatooine flat?
I was oh my God. Now we're thinking alike, Glenn. Oh my God.
But like,
please just be quiet.
Metaphorically, for me, it meant a lot, and Star Wars has always been my favorite. But anyway, back to wrestling. Your favorite wrestling character?
Jake the Snake Roberts.
Good
always,
one.
Yeah.
Jake, you know what? And Jake's a cool. If you're on YouTube, go watch Jake the Snake's journey after wrestling, because him and Diamond Dallas Page. Well, a big shout out to Diamond Dallas Page. He saved Jake's life. Mm-hmm. He has saved Razor Ramon's life. Doing yoga. What a great job you've done, Diamond Dallas Page, and a big shout out for you that you've done with your yoga program. So.
That was the day when wrestling was easy. Like the storylines were simple. But, I had a lot. I loved Ricky Steamboat. Macho Man was kind of the.
It works.
Yeah, and
it was still real when we watched
Warrior. Yeah, sure it was. But Jake the Snake, I just loved his badness.
Wrestling's not real.
No.
What?
So and Megan, yours.
So I want to, Glenn. You said who do you think my favorite wrestler is? There's two, but one a little above the other for sure.
Macho Man and
he wasn't
Ultimate
my favorite.
Warrior.
No.
I don't know then.
Oh yeah, no.
Go ahead.
Shawn Michaels.
Oh.
And then
Sexy Boy.
And then Triple X when they became DX and the whole
Triple H. You mean Triple H?
So I got to tell you what happened. So when I was an athletic therapist, I decided I was in Toronto, and I was like, I want to work for the WWF, and I had a whole storyline.
Which is now the WWE, right?
Yeah.
WWE.
So I had a wrestling name. I had a finishing move. Yeah, I had a
How
whole
old were you?
storyline in my 20s, so
Okay.
let it go, Glenn.
You're good. No, I'm learning you. It's good.
Yes.
Good stuff.
So my wrestling name was Steel with an E.
Yeah.
My finishing
With
move.
3 E's?
Yeah, but an E on the
Okay,
end,
gotcha.
like candy with an I. So
Gotcha.
it was a finishing move called the Steel Trap, where I would knock them out, and then I would, with my 2 legs, like, trap their head until it was like a
Steel
submission
trap.
hold.
Steel trap. Yeah.
But the whole thing was because I was a huge China fan as well.
She was
when it was
huge.
Triple H in China. I
Yeah.
still have in my classroom right now like a little China figurine, and the
She's
kids are like,
passed away.
"What's that?"
China's
Yeah.
passed
Story
away.
I'll tell you off air.
All right.
Yeah.
But
Oh,
we don't need to
okay.
put it on air. So.
China was groundbreaking because she
Yes.
was.
Well, she called herself the 9th wonder of the world, and
She
I was
was.
like, I'm going to be the 10th. And so
Yeah,
this was my
good.
whole
I
storyline,
love
is
that,
that
man.
I was going to be Triple H's sister, and Shawn Michaels and I, like at the time, I was like, this would be a great storyline. We'll fall in love. It will
Yeah.
break up Triple H.
Like
and
Elizabeth-
China and I will then have to fight, and I will finish her and become the 10th wonder and be the new wrestling steel.
You really thought this through?
I'm telling
Did you write this stuff down too?
No, I still remember
Okay.
it. I'm
All right,
44.
wow.
And what's crazy is
And I wanted to get in because I
you
was
just
living
needed
in
about
Toronto.
you need about 2 years of steroids,
So-
and you'd be good.
So I was like, I just need to get in to the show and like get
Mm.
Vince McMahon to hire me as like the athletic therapist for the show, and then pitch my idea, and he'll be like, "This is brilliant, moneymaker." Never happened.
Well,
obviously.
storyline's a big part of wrestling. Storyline's
Yeah.
a big part of wrestling. So my favorite is the King. I mean, there's nobody better. He was the greatest interview. He changed wrestling forever. When I watched
Jerry Lawler.
when I watched
Who are you
Rocky
talking about
3,
then?
I don't
when I
know.
watched
Who-
Rocky
who are you
3,
talking
Hulk
about?
Hogan. I watched Rocky 3 when Hulk Hogan, what he called Thunder Lips, walked out into the ring. It showed just the enormity of how big a wrestler was, and he changed the income scales
Sure.
for the wrestlers. No one did an interview better, brother. I mean, and that's why if anyone's on Facebook and you ever hear me write, "Hey, I appreciate you, brother," that comes from Hulk Hogan, right? So, he just, I'm not kidding you. In 1989, 1990, I lived in a house with Scott Chipman, God rest his soul, one of my best friends, and he passed away in 2001. In our house that we rented at that time, in my bedroom was Hulk Hogan's poster.
I remember that.
You remember that, right?
was
He
there
was
a
to the
lot,
left
so-
of my bed. I mean, and then other great athletes were in the room, but I considered Hulk Hogan a great athlete because of
I
the
still remember when he picked. Remember when he
Andre
put
the Giant.
Andre the Giant up? Like
Yeah.
I remember that was
Yeah,
like,
WrestleMania
oh
2.
my
He was,
God,
he was really
everyone-
hurt when he did that too.
Oh
I
yeah,
think.
I mean you're talking
Of course he
500 pounds.
Oh, I think he was more than that, man.
Andre.
No, he had to be more.
I mean, like it's just a massive
So, like you're right. Like Hulk Hogan was the one that brought
Introduced.
people to
Yeah,
wresling. Like
yeah.
he was.
Jake was
the
a great
innovator.
character though.
I also like Roddy Piper. He was.
Oh,
one I
Roddy
loved
was
too.
fantastic. And
it's
you know what Roddy
sarcasm,
was?
just-
Yeah,
Roddy-
I did like
great.
Roddy.
We got to
yeah.
do a whole wrestling podcast because we could spend.
And
Roddy,
I think like
Roddy's
Steve
a great
Austin,
family man.
then
Oh,
I found was the next generation. Like you,
I lost it.
well, The
after.
Rock.
Steve Austin,
The Rock.
Undertaker.
Yeah.
that
Cena.
became. Yeah, Cena. That was the whole next.
Okay,
And then
so we're
to
gonna
me-
we're gonna do a wrestling
Yeah,
podcast.
to me that got more into way too much of a soap opera. By the time this had happened, it became not that it wasn't a soap opera to begin with, but it became too much for me. I stopped watching.
But I love how
Around this time.
Vince is a smart man. No,
Oh
Vince
my
is
God,
a brilliant
he's
man.
A brilliant man.
When he called it World Wrestling Entertainment,
Yeah.
was a brilliant move because the World Wildlife Foundation was actually trying to get money out of Vince,
Mm-hmm.
and he changed it to WWE, which is actually more acceptable in regards to the business they're in because they're in entertainment.
Yeah.
And say they're not some of the best athletes in the world would be ridiculous because they are some of the best athletes in the world. They wrestle every freaking day. I mean, they're in a big event on Sunday night on a pay-per-view, and on Monday night they're on Raw. So anyway,
And like when we were kids, just to your point, when we were kids, we'd watch wrestling on Saturday afternoon. It was always on Saturday afternoon.
Oh, yeah.
Like right at 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock or something. But we'd get like 4 or 5 matches in that hour.
Yeah.
There was very little
Yes.
storyline in between, but then it became
The Bushwhackers?
soap opera. Oh yeah, like all of them, the Road Warriors and
Yeah,
the
the Road Warriors.
tag team
A
stuff.
lot of
was
them are
fun.
gone. A lot of them have passed
well,
away.
They are, but I remember, and you guys remember this too. Like we used to get the local wrestling circuit.
Oh, Grand Prix
Oh, yeah.
wrestling.
Wrestling.
Leo
Down at the
Burke,
arena.
Right
Stephen
here in Bridgewater.
Pettipaw,
Big
Not into
Stephen
that. I
Pettipaw.
did not
the Cuban
Um,
Assassin, Killer Carl Croup,
Yeah, and
all those
Killer
guys.
Crow- yeah, and
Mr. McClack.
who's who's the one? Oh the big Malumba was
The
it
big Great
Malumba?
Malumba.
Great Malumba.
The Cuban Assassin.
Yeah, we were walking in the mall. They were in there, and
Look
the
at
Great
the Rock.
Malumba.
Look at that.
My dad went up to.
We're
him
not going
and-
to go into any other subject for the rest of the
If you're
night.
talking about the best athletes, that guy's a crazy
Oh, my
monster.
God.
Yeah,
He's
well,
a
He is
beast.
insane. Like the size of his. I should finish that sentence because that sounded really bad.
What?
I was gonna say the size of his shoulders
Yeah.
and his pecs.
Well,
it's just.
it's steroids. But anyway, the thing
You don't know that.
It is steroids. Dwayne.
You
I'll say.
don't know that.
I'll say one thing about Dwayne.
I'm behind you, man.
Dwayne is relentless in his schedule. Him and Mark Wahlberg are the two guys that.
Mark.
And you know who else is? The comedian. Michael. Who's the comedian? Kevin Hart. Kevin Hart learned work ethic from Dwayne Johnson. These guys are doing unbelievable work in the entertainment world, and they know they have a window. They know that they only have so much time in front of the public, and they are relentlessly working. Mark Wahlberg goes to bed at 7 p.m. almost every night.
What was the question? I forget what the question was. Like, what was the actual
Star
question?
Trek
Oh,
versus
Star
Star
Trek. How did
Wars.
we get
Pull
there?
one out. Let's go.
How do we
Two
get to
left.
that?
We're at an hour 30. I'm
Yeah,
ahead of
we
myself.
got lots of time, Michael.
Good.
It's unlimited. Oh,
Tattoos versus no tattoos.
Megan.
I say no tattoos.
Screw those things.
I think people
Oh,
with
God.
tattoos are not only smart, beautiful, and intelligent, but some crazy bitches.
Glenn?
I don't have any tattoos, but it's not because I don't think they're cool.
Right.
I just have never decided on something.
That's a
I
valid
want
point.
on my skin to be there forever yet.
I
And I don't know if I
love
will.
being able to put things on my body ink-wise that, like everything that I get has
a
some
meaning,
type of story.
Of course.
I say that now, but I mean, when I was 18, I got 2 dolphins jumping out of the water on my ankle because I
Why?
wanted to work at SeaWorld because I love dolphins.
You have like the most incredible career aspirations of anyone I've ever talked to in my life.
It's like here. It's here. It's
Pittsburgh
here.
Penguins.
It's here.
WWF.
It's here.
SeaWorld.
yeah.
Anything else?
Yeah,
Let's talk about this for a minute. What else did you
yeah,
want to do?
I wanted to play volleyball for Team Canada,
Okay.
and I wanted to be a backup dancer for Britney Spears.
David Walker.
So specific.
Please call 902-5. Beep, 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 beep.
So we just do whatever we want on the show. There's no
Yeah.
structure to this at all. So,
Yeah.
so we're going to
It's
do a live show
spontaneous.
from Boston Pizza where people call us.
Yes.
No one's going to call us.
Yes, they
Are
are.
they? Who's going to call us?
Glenn.
They're going to call Meg.
Glenn, it's going this way.
Jason
You're gonna-
Momoa.
Glenn, it's going this
or
way.
my students.
So I was talking about
Miss
something a little
Walker.
different. Like we should just have fish bowls. We should all put like 4 or 5 phone numbers in the fish bowl sometime, and we pick it out and we call them outbound.
Cold call.
We outbound call them for just and people that we know. And
Okay.
you say, tell us your best story about Dennis Woodworth. Boom. And
I
they
love
go.
it.
Oh,
Look at Megan. Look at Megan. Megan, I'm out. I'm out.
Oh, yeah.
I'm out.
I can't do that. I'll be
out.
fired.
What? Oh no. Well, you get to pick. You can pick who they are, right?
I get that. I would still be
It's
fired.
gonna be her mom, her dad, or your
She'd be fired from that,
your
too.
son.
I'm not really sure who I could call that could safely.
What was the TV show? Call a friend, phone a friend. What was that? Want to be a millionaire?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That'd be fun though. That'd be
It
talk
would
about.
be
love that,
fun,
Glenn.
but
Talk about
I would
stuff.
not.
I love that, Glenn. I love
would
it.
be a little
Are we
nervous.
finished with it? What was the last question? Did we get through the question?
Oh, tattoos. Yes
Tattoos.
or no?
Oh, yeah.
So, I think they're wonderful expressions. I think it's a really cool way for people to express themselves,
All right.
and I'm not against them at all. I just haven't, like I said, I just haven't.
Okay,
figured
so I'm
something
going to
out
ask you
that
a
I
question
want
because we're brothers, and not Hulk Hogan brothers. We're just
Yeah.
brothers.
to. Sure.
If you were to choose a tattoo
Yeah.
that's very meaningful,
Yeah.
what would you choose? If it was just like the number one, I know I think it would take a lot of thought, but like,
If you could wash it off.
Yeah, well, I've gone through, I'm a big Bruins fan. I thought
Yeah.
I'll always be a Bruins fan.
Right, of
But
course.
that's so cliche to get a
But
sports.
it's not. You
It is
love your
cliche,
team.
and I don't want to be cliche. I've thought, maybe.
Where would you put the tattoos? First one.
I don't know. Maybe
Inner thigh.
shoulder or something. No, probably not. Calf, maybe. Calf or my back shoulder or.
Megan Walker. You guys are unbelievable. Anyway.
But then I thought at one point I would want to pay homage to being a dual citizen, U.S. and Canada.
That'd be a great idea.
I'd do something around that.
I love that idea.
But then,
You could get a flag on each thigh.
Keep going.
Jason
What else? What else?
Yeah, I guess so.
No, I wouldn't.
Oh,
I wouldn't do
man.
that. Wouldn't it hurt there though?
Yeah.
They hurt everywhere, but that would hurt.
Yeah. So that's the other side. Is why would I put myself through that if I'm not really sure that I want to do something and it's going to hurt? Like, why would I do it?
Well, if you go to the pool, if you're at the beach.
Are we getting into that?
Well, hey, listen. If you're at the beach, or if you're at a pool, or if you're somewhere going for a run, and you have that U.S. Canada kind of
Yep,
connection,
sure.
it's a conversation piece. If you ask,
He might not
Oh,
want
I
a conversation piece.
I don't need that to have conversations.
I know that's. I guess that's true. That's true.
I have no problem taking up conversation.
For many years, for me,
Yeah.
I just because of my father, he was against them. He was adamantly against having a tattoo, and I translated that information over to my son, and it's one of the lessons that my son taught me, which is very cool, was to be open-minded enough to be able to understand from his perspective of why it was important to him.
My mom hates them.
Yeah, and Dad does too, and Mom does too, and what's so great about it is that Michael has a lot of tattoos that are very complex and meaningful, and I opened my mind to that, and then one year, just a couple of years ago, I actually got them myself. So on my right bicep, I have live, love, and learn, and most people have live, love, and laugh, right? But the learn part was more important to me. Reading, understanding people. Glenn and I are big readers.
There's more room there. You could put another L in if you
Yeah. The other one on my left bicep is to be the difference. So is a message to me every day. If I'm shaving or whatever, I look in the mirror and it's just an affirmation of what I needed to be. And then the last one is something that is normally the conversation piece wherever I go. If I'm wearing a tank top, is the lion, and why did I choose a lion? And really, it's about just a mindset, right? And you could use an eagle. I'm a big eagle fan too in regards to that. I own an English bulldog, but English bulldogs are not about leadership. They're more bowling balls, and it's just slobbering in a bowl of water and running like a bat to hell. A lion exemplifies a certain characteristic, and an eagle does as well. So, but I give Michael a lot of credit for it because I was so adamantly against it, and
Get me out of the house.
Slow
I had
down.
2 tattoos to kick me right out of the house.
yeah, no, I did. I said, hey, if you get a tattoo, you're out, man. Like, and that was a learning process
Your arm
for me.
says be the
How
difference.
did you
I know.
feel? Like, how did you feel? Like, this is
Yeah.
interesting because we've gone from
Okay, so-
tattoos, really good or bad. Mike, what was your response to that? And speak openly now. Like, this is in the past. Tell us
I
how.
always speak openly. Don't worry, brother.
How did you feel about it? Did it? How long did it take for that to be able to repair that relationship with your dad? Like,
For me, it was instant because I knew in my mind why I was getting the tattoos.
Yeah.
My first tattoo is lyrics from a band that made me fall in love with music, but also applied to the situation that I was in. I was conflicted about getting a tattoo, but I really wanted one because I knew I wanted. I'm at the point now where the next tattoo I think I'm getting, other than a tattoo to pay homage to Kobe Bryant, because love that man. But I'm going to get an artist that I love just to put a piece of art and sign their name to it. And I'm going to give them a part of my body just to put a piece of art on there, and because I'm more interested in that part. But my tattoo was basically, it was kind of me struggling with getting it when Dad didn't want me to get it. And I was going through, okay, I had that moment where I'm like, you know what, screw it. I'm doing this for me.
was there
I want
anything
it.
that led up to that screw it moment? Like, I'm curious
It
about
was a
human
year.
behavior.
It was about a year.
Okay.
Yeah, I was of age to get it myself. I had moved out. So for me, I just looked at it. I was like, you know what? This is a personal thing that I've thought about for a long time. I know what I'm getting. I don't know where I'm getting it, but I know what I'm getting, and I've thought about it. For me, I think a year. I have to know what I'm getting, and I think about where I'm getting it and how I'm going to do it and everything about that for 1 year. And I think about having it on my body, and then I go and get the tattoo. And I'm normally even after that because I got to get the money together to get it. But
Sure.
Yeah.
other than that, yeah.
A good one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how long did it take for you to see the tattoo on him for it not to make you feel, I don't know if rage or anger is the right thing or disappointment, but this stuff fascinates me about people. Why do we act the way we act with each other? When typically you love your son, no question. He loves you, no question.
Unconditionally. Okay, so it comes down to, I think we had the conversation last week about, no, we didn't. We did it with, when Barry was here for our Major League Baseball interview, Jackie Robinson. So Jackie was in the crowd. He was playing one day, and a father and son were in the bleachers, and the father yelled out to Jackie a derogatory word that is unacceptable in society, and the little boy heard his dad say it long enough, and he started to say it himself. So my dad would always say to me, like, Dennis, if you get an earring in your ear, I'm going to cut your ear off. If you do this, I'm going to do that. And that didn't come from, and I love my dad. Like, my dad is like my best friend in the world. Like, he is my rock. There's nobody. He's just such an incredible granite stone for me. He's done so much for me in my life. I can't explain. I could do 10 podcasts. It wouldn't be enough. But I kind of translate that family tradition onto Michael. And I say, hey, you do this. This is why. And it wasn't even a real valid reason why. It was just a family thing that, family after family, generation after generation. If you look at the Woodworth family, you'd find there be very few tattoos in that family until Michael. And then I became open-minded enough to understand the reasoning behind it. Now, I will say this. Tattoos today are more accepted, very much like our podcast we had, Megan, with LGBTQ. That you have so much more understanding of why it's being done. There's more art involved today. In the 1970s, if you watch someone with tattoos, they were usually sailors in the Navy or bikers that had, skulls and, it was just a whole different culture. Today, there's so much meaning behind tattoos and art. So people use their bodies as art. And some people do go overboard. I will say that. Like, they just go. Some people think, from the chin down.
That's still the same thinking that you were in with.
No, but they do go overboard in some case.
Why is it overboard?
Yeah.
Well, I think in some case, that they're going through a journey that it's endless. I think they're looking for something artistically that is not on the skin. It's underneath the skin.
Okay.
But some people just like to use their entire body as a
of
canvas.
course.
Oh,
100%.
I will say face tattoos.
Yeah, I don't like them. I don't like tattoos in the face. There's certain ones that I like. People.
Mike Tyson had a nice one on his
up.
face. Like, Mike Tyson had that one on his face. That was actually, pretty creative and artistic. I don't mind it.
But that's my personal.
I don't mind it.
Yeah, my personal preference is that I don't find that super appealing.
Yeah, like,
but
I would never get a tattoo on my
it's
face,
okay.
but I
I
don't
wouldn't
care
either.
if someone
Yeah,
has one. Like,
exactly.
I wouldn't look at them and think any less of them or be
Right.
like, you're something's wrong with you, man. I wouldn't think that. I wouldn't want one, but I don't care. If you want to get one, fill your boots.
Well, it used to have meaning, right? The tear on the eye used to mean that you
Very
killed
cool.
the person.
Very, very cool.
Yeah, no,
But generational knowledge is a dangerous construct.
it is.
And if we don't ask the whys, around
Goes
why
back
do
to
our
that,
families
Glenn,
do
Talk
what we
about
do?
that whole educated
Exactly.
ignorance
Yeah.
versus
I
just
know.
ignorance.
Exactly.
I mean, I was legitimately afraid. My brother actually got an earring later, and I was worried for his ear because I know my father. He's literal, right?
You too.
Like,
Yeah.
my father, Keith would,
Why would you do that?
Why
because
would you do that?
because there's only one. Here's the reason why. Let me say this. Okay, relax, everyone. Because there's only one man on the planet that's like him. Like, he's.
Yes, but there's a lot of crazy psycho people.
Ow, come on.
Yeah.
Tattoo
All right.
people are going to
Okay,
go after him.
okay.
And I'm sure John Lennon thought the same thing.
So
before
Michael.
he-
Okay, hey, hang on.
I'll bleep it.
Michael can handle that. All right, it's not a big deal.
You're welcome, Keith.
Yeah, exactly. So reality is that I literally thought Sean was in trouble. Like I was like, this is going to happen. Like this is going down. I'm going to have to protect my brother. Like this is happening. But there's defiance to that, which for me, I respect my father so much. Once I leave the house, once I leave under his roof and I say, hey, I'm on my own, I'm just my own man, then I'll make that decision. If I want to do something like that, fine. But if my father says, I'm asking you to follow these guidelines and they're not unreasonable.
That is unreasonable, though.
Why would that be unreasonable?
Because how does it affect him and his love for you in any way?
It's the same
so
as...
it's no different than him saying, I am not okay with you being gay while you live under this
you're
house.
using that platform, though, Megan. That's not...
But I'm comparing the fact that you're saying he loves you unconditionally.
That's
then
different.
Why should it matter that you have a tattoo under his roof?
No, I'm saying an earring.
An earring.
So,
okay.
right.
So you're right, and you're right. And this is the thing, I think, where we kind of blur things, and we think that just because we can't find the common ground in things, like when you're a minor, the law says that you have to get your parents' permission to get tattoos and earrings and all those other things.
Till 18.
So if they say, if your parent says, no, you can't have one while you live here, they have the legal right to say that. I hear what you're saying. Why should that matter? Why would somebody withhold or make love conditional based on that, or use that as a threat? Like there's danger in that, and it's psychological danger. My parents did the same thing. When you live under my house, you're going to obey my rules, and there's no questions asked, period. And I did, at least outwardly. I followed their rules. Now there's things that I did that they had no idea about,
which most kids
Yeah,
do.
right.
And I think that's your slippery slope.
right?
Sometimes
It is.
it happens.
It is. But this is, familial. It's every family has traditions. Every family has beliefs, and there needs to be some transfer of those beliefs. Like we need to learn our
Heritage.
culture and our heritage.
Yeah.
And we do that from our parents. And this goes back to our, what do we teach in school versus what do we teach at home? My grandmother made the best meatloaf in the world. And my mother now makes the best. My grandmother's passed on. My mother makes amazing meatloaf. And I make really good meatloaf. And this is something.
Can you make some tomorrow?
Well, I actually made
Next
some the
time
other
we're
day.
here.
I'll bring
Go,
meatloaf
bring
next
it
week
in.
if
We'll
you
eat
want.
meatloaf. If Boston Pizza's not going to bring us
wait.
food, then Glenwell.
Are you vegan? No, because meatloaf wouldn't. Okay, so no, I'll
She's
bring
not
meatloaf.
vegan.
I mean, I got no problem bringing dinner, but there's certain things that we need the family to teach
Right.
us.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
But in order, like, parents pay for us, right?
Huge
They
sacrifice.
basically pay for us.
Sacrifice.
So when we're teenagers, we want to rebel against authority. Like that's part of being a teenager. Like even we keep saying Bartley Sawatsky. Even Bartley rebelled against his parents' authority.
Not much,
at different
but
times. But and I hope he never watches these podcasts.
he does. He will.
Sitting back.
yeah.
you
He
know.
will.
Wait,
Taking
I have
notes.
more. I have more notes on me in this.
Don't tell that story.
Yeah, right. So, but there's this happy. We have to find the happy medium, and teenagers need to be able to express themselves, and parents need to be able to have control of the situation. And this is why everybody fights, is because we can't have the discussion instead of my house, my rules. Well, you don't love me, and I don't want to play both sides of this too far down the road, but that's what it comes down to. And then there's this divide, and it creates people making terrible decisions because they feel they're unloved.
Well, the other thing, too, is that we live in different generations because our parents grew up in a certain, the 50s. Timeline,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And then we grew up in a timeline. And that's what I try to do with Michael. Because Michael, I explain this to people all the time. Michael is my son, and he's also a friend of mine. So really as close to the best friend I have in the world. And that
Look at you go.
and that for me, it says something because I look at him as a son and as a friend.
Yeah.
Because that means a lot to me. And it doesn't mean we don't have a lot of conflict, because we do. But I want to push him to the limits that he wants. And he educates me too. There's a lot of things that I want. It's funny because I'm going to do a big shout out to Will Smith and his family on this one, but the Red Talk table that Danielle sent me a video at one time and said, you need to watch this. And I want to do a podcast with her on the subject because I want her to tell me why she wanted me to watch it.
So Danielle's your
She's my
People know who that is.
she's my daughter. She's not my biological daughter, but she's my daughter.
Yep.
And I've always considered her that way since she was 2 years of age. I was there when she was born. I know her dad, biological father. I know her biological family. I know the whole construct of the family. So anyway, but she sent me that. I was in Cuba, and she sent me that and said, you need to watch this. And I wanted to have a conversation with her about it, about why she wanted me to watch it, because there's specific things that mean something to her of why I needed to watch
There's a
that.
reason.
And I was cool with that. I was like, all right, I will. So anyway, it gets back to with Michael, with the tattoo is I was open-minded enough to understand from his perspective of why it was important to him. And that's all I got down to is, hey, it's important to him. Be open-minded enough that you're his father, but also a very good friend of his at the same time.
Sure.
Look at this from a friend perspective, because we don't judge the same way to a friend as we would to a sibling or a son or a daughter. So I kind of went, I met him halfway. And then he taught me a lot that when I got tattoos, like his mind was blown. And everybody in our community, like my parents, like was like would never believe that I would do it. But he taught me a lot that way. So that's tattoos, no tattoos. What's the next one, Megan?
I don't know. This is a really boring one to end on.
Well, I got another one
like
in.
Create a
upbeat,
new
like
one.
I got one.
boats on the LaHaye.
Oh, that's a good one, Glenn. This is Glenn's right here, man.
Well, you
Boats on the
choose,
LaHaye.
I'm just saying, warning, we're at 2 hours.
Yeah, no, that's
Yeah.
For
fine.
the listeners'
We're,
sake.
we're really not.
We'll be done
We
at
didn't
two.
start till we
Yeah,
I guess we
7:30.
didn't start at
Yeah,
7.
what are we?
6. We got
It's
7
9?
o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Dude,
2 hours.
It's cool.
Here's the thing. This is Glenn's baby right here.
Well, I mean, I think
Megan
that
have
one of the
something?
silliest things that this town's, it's been a black eye on the town for literally 30 years, I think 27 years, is the cormorant that's moored down at the Bridgewater dock that is owned by Rick Welsford. And it's been there and gosh,
Well, not owned by Rick Welsford. The society owns it.
well, the dock.
Society
Okay,
owns
so
it.
the society owns it.
Yeah,
So
that's-
all right.
that's
so
the-
you know a little bit more about that
I do.
set than I do.
Mm.
But he's the name that's comes up when
Well,
you,
of course,
when you
because
do
he's
research.
the actual visible person
Right.
that's represents the
Yeah,
society
okay.
all the time.
So-
Same as if you said Bridgewater baseball, right?
Yeah.
What would you
Yeah.
think, right? So it's the same thing.
Chris
It's just-
Sink.
well, it could be.
I'm just giving
No,
you a hard time.
legitimate.
So
legitimate.
Sorry, I didn't mean to poke.
Love you, Zinky.
poke-
Love you,
poke the
Zinky.
lion. So, but they've announced, recently that the boat's going to be removed, and it was scheduled to be removed this morning. And
I
it
have a
pushed
photo.
back.
I took a photo before I came
Did
up
they
with the
move it?
podcast. It's moving.
It's moving tomorrow morning.
tomorrow
weather
morning.
permitting at 6:30.
Yeah.
They're gonna
I
ship.
took
it
a
down
photo for
on the
Glenn.
boat.
We're going to put it up on the podcast to show it.
Yeah, so it's a big deal, and this.
Well, you did some work,
I don't know if what I did had any
promotional
impact or
work,
not.
and recognizing why it should be moved.
Sure, I mean,
Let's just say it spade is spade. Like Bernadette Jordan, and you wanted to put that
I wanted to
information
be in
in
the public
society.
eye.
Yeah.
I wanted to find out what could we do to get rid of this thing, and
Yeah.
what could I do to help get rid of this thing. So I dug in and learned about the Derelict Ship Act that she sponsored and had written up, and part of it, I believe her. She says that part of the reason she wanted to work on that was to get rid of the boats in LaHave and the Farley Mowat that was down, I think, in Shelburne at the time.
Yeah.
And,
Yep.
they're just these boats that are they're not
There's derelict vessels all over
everywhere,
Canada,
everywhere.
everywhere.
So this thing is being moved at the I think the cost is $700,000 is what they're paying.
Okay, so
to
I got
move it.
to give a huge shout out
Yeah,
because
go ahead.
you have been part of the community that wanted to get rid of this vessel for a long time. But the very first
Yeah.
person that ever did that was Joey Mailman.
Yeah.
Joey and Sandra lived on King Street, just across from the boat, just down the road. And he drove by it every day, so it bothered him enormously. And Joey passed away from cancer quite some time ago, but he was the first, he was the first to really say, hey, this has to go. And Chris Johnson, another plug for Chris, that was a part of that as well. That community, Sandra and Joey and Chris and Tommy Mailman,
I was gonna say
that whole
the George
group.
brothers been part of it.
Yeah, they were a big part of it. So, and then it seemed like it faded away for a while, and a lot of negativity came. But then recently, Glenn really started to jump it up another level.
Go, Glenn.
Well,
so
I kind of started. I launched a little bit of a Facebook maybe it was about 2 years ago, and you're welcome to go on my Facebook and you can show that I started I started like I did it from a very serious perspective, but I tried to have fun with it. And I just wanted to bring attention to the fact that Bridgewater is this really wonderful town.
Well, the river's a beautiful spot.
And the river's a mess.
Right now.
Part of the boats are part of the reason, but we've abused the LaHave River and we need to fix it.
Too long.
We need to come by and fix these things that are fixable that we can manage.
Well, Michael,
are part of it.
I'll interject again. Michael Grave talked about all of the the septic waste is going into the river. Straight pipes going into the river. They're aware of it now. So, but the river, the boats are a part of it. So go ahead.
Sure. Yeah. So I just started to post on Facebook, and I started to post articles, and I started to tag, like one of the parts of my job is social media marketing. So I kind of understand the way that the tagging and linking people so you can get through the Facebook algorithm and get people to look at what you're doing. So I started to use tags, and I would tag as many different organizations as I can that would want to know this. And I kind of had some fun with it. I started photoshopping Bernadette.
I remember.
Onto the ship in different ways. And I actually got a call from somebody in our office that was a little upset with me about doing it. And I'm like, look, it's serious, but it's tongue in cheek. I'm not really trying to make her look bad. I'm not trying to shame her. I've given her opportunities to have conversations with me, to give me updates.
Many.
Several times I would email, I left messages, I sent her messages on social media, I commented on her stuff, asking for her to call me, and I got nothing. The day before she got reelected, she called me and we talked for 45 minutes on the phone. But then after that, no. And the reason she called me is because somebody else that I know that kind of knows what I do told her, you should call him because he has, I don't know if she said special powers, but that I have the ability to
connections.
Do connections.
Connections.
Not even connections, just that I understand the way social media works.
Of course, absolutely. That's big connections.
You ought to call him just so we can stop this stuff. And I didn't, I never did it to block her from getting elected. I actually voted for her because I knew she made me promises.
Right, exactly.
When I talked to her, and I voted for her because of that, which I feel dirty for, because a vote for her was a vote for Justin Trudeau, which I'm not really proud of doing.
It was a moist vote.
Yes, it was. I voted moistly.
We talked about that earlier anyway.
So that, like, I had fun. But now it's going tomorrow. I plan to be there, even though, they don't want big crowds there. But I'm going to go take pictures.
Oh, there'll be crowds there.
Yeah, I'm going to go take pictures. And I'm probably going to bring a bottle of champagne. And I am going to celebrate the fact that boat is gone, because it has, like,
but Glenn, it's one of many.
Well, there's 3 other boats that are on that
they're
dock that need to
terrible.
go, and they're in worse shape than the Cormorant.
They
but
are.
We have to deal with one at a time. We got to start somewhere. These are privately owned, and we know who owns those ones. We didn't know who owned the Cormorant. We still don't know who owns the Cormorant. It's still in question.
So here's the bottom line: is that I was the president of the Bridgewater Marina, so I have some insight on the reality of how this works. And the problem is that a lot of these boats that are docked at that wharf are docked by entities that owe money.
Sure.
And then these lawsuits or these liens are put onto these boats, and it's international water. The rules that pertain to the town of Bridgewater do not pertain to international waters, and the LaHave River is part of that. So there was years ago, I can't remember how many years ago it was, but they actually they were going to be moving the boat, and the actual owner that owned it at the time had somebody come up and try to sink it inside the boat. They were literally trying to sabotage the boat to sink to the bottom of the river. So there's a lot of things that have happened along the way, and international waters, there's so much. Well,
it's under marine law. Marine law.
It's bullshit. I'll just say that. I can't say any clearer than that. There's so much bullshit that goes on international waters that we don't know about. They sink ships. They sink boats because of insurance reasons. There's been murders on international waters that have happened. Some of them are celebrities that have happened over the years. What was her name a long time ago? Wagner. Anyway, there's so many things that happen on international waters that just wouldn't happen on regular land. And that's what happens. That's what happens.
Yes.
Moving on, ladies and gents.
That's what happens on international waters. And as a president of the Bridgewater Marina, you see some of that stuff that actually happens. So
Dennis, this sounds like a conspiracy theory.
no, not at all. Not at all.
I hear
I'm just-
it.
Not at all. Not at all. I'm just saying is that the day for celebrating that one of the boats is gone, and a lot of people, and I just want a big cheers, a big shout out to Joey, and because he was, oh wow, he was so adamant in our paper and everywhere that just, you know, and I know tomorrow will be a big day for them.
Rightfully so.
And for you and many others, tomorrow will be a big moment. I'll be honest with you. For me, how can you complain about a boat being on the river when people dump shit into it every day? And
Terrible.
I mean, guys, and we just blindly let it happen every day. There's some things that we have to do in the next 5 to 10 years of our lifetime that has to cover up a lot of the crap that our parents and grandparents and great-grandparents have done well before us. And our children are going to be the benefactors of all that bullshit.
Our children are going to be cleaning up our mess too.
It's
And
terrible.
It's going to be like that's something it's going to be cycled through. all
And
the
not
time,
just
but-
AI robots and all this other stuff that we talk about tonight, but the reality is I think our children, my son, your children, your children that no one knows about, Glenn, is
What?
they're responsible.
Not true.
And I'm going to tell you right now, the guy that I admire a lot in the United States, which I knew would never be put on the docket for being president, is Bernie Sanders. He's so in touch with the youth in the United States, and being someone who's 80 years old, and understands that.
That's a whole other topic.
No, I'm just saying that it just that
And
generation.
I know Glenn doesn't agree because he put his head down.
It doesn't
and
matter
he's
if Glenn does or
peeling-
not.
Peeling off the Boston Pizza logo.
What
off
I'm
the Fishbowl.
what I'm saying is that the next generation of kids are going to clean up a lot of the shit that's been done for decades, and if we don't go in that direction, then we get what we deserve in society.
And before I just want to shout out to Stella Bowles, who brought a lot of awareness to the LaHave River and the straight pipes going in. Because without her, I think a lot of the funding and a lot of the...
How old is she now?
Is she in grade 11?
I think. Okay.
Well,
Well,
she did tests on the water that was just that
She
was
started with a grade 6. I mean, we're not
real.
going to get into it, but she started it as... I mean, I taught grade 6, so she was in grade 6. So
we should talk about it. She
not right now. We don't
she'd
have
be a
time.
great
We're at
guest
2
to come in.
hours.
Listen,
Yeah,
we've
good
we've
point.
covered we've
Good
covered a
point.
lot of subjects tonight,
All right.
and you guys did a
We're
great
out.
job. And I'm really pleased with the result. It's been some, you know, it's crazy time. It's a crazy time with some crazy things that are going on, and
It is.
I'm just looking forward to just trying to create solutions. All right, so
We're already out.
thank you for tuning into the weekly Woodcast with Dennis and Michael Woodworth with our special guests on our Boston Pizza Fishbowl Fridays, Megan Walker and Glenn Carey, and missing with his scotch is Barry Gillis. We'll see him next week on Boston Pizza's Fishbowl Fridays. We'll see you next time. Thank you for tuning in.
Momoa.